It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. Charles Dickens, A Tale of Two Cities.
Now that we've started the video with a deep quote that can vaguely apply to things, hi, welcome to the start of our deep dive into the world of Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds. The world of Yu-Gi-Oh! In general has vastly changed and evolved over the near 30 years since it first started releasing as a serialized manga about a kid who unlocks the dark powers of an ancient pharaoh taking justice into his own hands through various games being played with those who put himself and his friends in danger. From there, Yu-Gi-Oh! Had this shift in focus to mainly be about a card game called Duel Monsters, and when they moved on to trying new things, we entered the second generation, GX, where instead of following Yugi and his friends, we would now follow Jaden and his friends attending a dueling school. But with the franchise continuing on, it needed to keep things fresh, come with more to say, and if the creator of it all, Kazuki Takahashi, was going to stay on board over a decade into the franchise's existence to help bring in the third generation of Yu-Gi-Oh! Despite being ready to bow out after GX, it was going to have to be something that makes you feel alive, something that makes your heart beat in hyperdrive. And what did this all turn out to be? Well, a Yu-Gi-Oh! Series that dealt with a lot more than just dueling. Oh, and motorcycles. I can't forget about the motorcycles. Throughout this 5-part series, we are going to take a look at each season of Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds to explore what it all offers in terms of storytelling and the characters within it, along with the extensive list of themes that are baked into both those aspects that give us the most different way to experience the world within the series yet. If you only experienced Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds through its English 4Kids dub, you never got to see the real ending to the series. Much like Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, the final season outside of the first 2 episodes was never translated and brought outside of Japan. Plus, there is a large chunk of the 4th season that didn't either. But in this deep dive, we will be talking more in depth about the moments you may have never seen, and go into the real ending to 5Ds. So get your helmets on, and let's start our journey into a more bleak and dystopian version of Yu-Gi-Oh! It's time to rev it up. Okay, well, this is awkward. Right here would have been a bit where I rented a motorcycle, but I was trying to get the lessons done, but the instructor was sick. But it doesn't matter, just roll this intro. As far as first episodes of a series go, Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds wastes no time in throwing you into this new world of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Franchise that is similar enough to the basics you've known from what came before, but vastly different in how things are operating now, setting a darker tone for what's to come going forward. We initially start things off in this bright, vivid city that feels like a futuristic version of Domino City, as it should be. This is new Domino City after all, as we enter into what are known as turbo duels, where duelists will ride on their special motorcycles known as duel runners as they duel against one another while they race around. Right away we get to meet the #1 ranked turbo duelist in the world named Jack Atlas, and aside from a fitting name, we see how good he is based on him easily winning this turbo duel held in a massive stadium with fans flooding every part of the arena to watch. We get some basics on how turbo duels work, with both duelists activating a field spell card known as Speed World, and from doing so, the duel runners are set to autopilot mode, you know, for safety, since dueling and driving sounds illegal. As well as what that card does for the race, it makes spell cards become limited, meaning only speed-related spell cards can be played. Another specialty of these types of duels is the speed counter. The more speed you have, the stronger your moves can be. So there is a lot of this speed factor at play fusing into the idea of dueling while on motorcycles. In this first turbo duel that we get to see part of, Jack ends up playing one of his signature monsters known as Red Dragon Archfiend, which is a new type of card in general, with Yu-Gi-Oh! For the first time at this point, creating a new type of extra deck monster. I'll get into more about this new type shortly, but this was a big thing to happen for the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! In general in the real world, where it became a make or break type of moment for people to be on board with it and to see where the card game was going, and for those who weren't ready for a new mechanic to be introduced into the game and decided to pull back. In hindsight, it sounds silly, but I distinctly remember the amount of friends that I played Yu-Gi-Oh! With at the time, all phasing out of playing it because of this being partially to blame. Now, with all of this going on, we see that somewhere else in a decaying and dark dark industrial-looking city that our main protagonist of the series, Yusei, is sneakily riding around on a red duel runner, eventually meeting up with a group of his friends in a tunnel as they are watching Jack's victory speech on a computer. We hear Jack talking about it not being the speed of the runner that matters, it's the rider that does, calling out anyone, anytime essentially, as we get to start learning about some past that Yusei and Jack have thanks to his friends here. Jack ended up slighting Yusei in a few different ways from whatever connection they have from their past, with us finding out that Jack's runner was originally Yusei's, leading to him now spending time putting together this new red one, which is way better than Jack's. I mean, do you want this stylish red Akira-like bike, or do you want to have a less interesting version of Sheen's Ultralord rocket or the EX ride bike from Gantz? Okay, to be fair, I actually do love monowheel looking futuristic designs for bikes, but I mean, come on, that's like a red Akira looking bike. On top of this, Jack also apparently took Yusei's best card, which will be revealed at a later time, but at this moment, we meet another character a part of this group named Rally, who comes to Yusei with a special Skyline acceleration chip that he found for his bike to help tune it up and have it go even faster. But this sparks a debate on some ethics here, as the others for the most part think Rally obtained this chip by stealing it, saying that this could lead them all to being tracked down and them getting marked, as that refers to something we already see on Rally, which is a tattooed mark that points them out as a criminal and used for tracking them down. They are also used as a form of discriminatory measures, as the place that all of these characters reside in that looks all run down is called Satellite, and all those that live in this area are looked down upon, as we'll see them referred to as satellites themselves, as after Yusei is all for using the chip and installs it into his runner, the sector security shows up, referring to them all as satellites or by identification numbers for those who are marked. Rally pleads to the others that he really didn't steal this chip and truly just found it laying on the ground with no one around, but with the place being surrounded, Yusei has a plan to help the rest of them escape, as he also kinda, wants to give his new runner chip here a full-on test drive, speeding out of the area and capturing the attention of the officers as they all go after him now. Of course, we right away do get some Akira slides with the bike action. It'll be something that happens all the time, so I promise not to mention every time it happens, but eventually the security officers corner Yusei.
Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D's will sign back on after these messages. Signing back on.
The main officer in charge here has a pass with Yusei, as he explains that Jack is the one who set things up, placing the chip for the kid to find and bring it to Yusei so that they can ultimately find him. Now, as a side note, I want to mention that this cop here, who is named Tetsu Trudge, is not only voiced by Dan Green, aka Yugi himself, he is in fact a direct reference to this character here, Tetsu Ushio, a character we would see in the first ever chapter of the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Manga, and of course the 1998 anime that I talked all about in my previous Yu-Gi-Oh! Video. But then we also see him within the third episode of the regular Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime as a flashback to him beating up Joey and Tristan, to which there he is also voiced by Dan Green, and that's pretty cool. And his name is listed as Tetsu Trudge in the English dub there, as well as in 5D's, but in the Japanese version, the character's name, back then and still now, is Tetsu Ushio, and I just think that's really neat. Anyway, Yusei makes an offer to the officer, saying that he'll give up peacefully if the officer can beat him in a duel. Trudge thinks that this is funny for the fact that Yusei thinks he can beat sector security in a duel in the first place, as well as for the fact that satellites aren't allowed to carry cards on them, as Yusei flashes his deck at the same time to say the rules are meant to be broken. For winning, Yusei wants it so that he and Rally are free to go, and for Trudge on the reverse side of things, if he wins, Yusei says that Rally is still to be let go free, while he'll turn himself in and claim that he couldn't outrun Trudge, teasing that he'll probably get a promotion from it all. This other officer tries to object about the law not being a thing that can be negotiated, but I guess it can, as Trudge sends him away and takes Yusei up on his offer. The two of them engage in a street version of a turbo duel, with them already going back and forth both with monster attacks and insults, digging more into the past between the two of them. At one point, Trudge ends up getting out Montage Dragon with 3,000 attack points, and something that I really like starts happening here for the duels, and that's instead of having the characters directly explaining everything that's going on, the heads-up display and computer system setup add in the missing information and context to certain plays and moves made, which kind of fixes the over-explanations characters would sometimes have to do in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime before this. Yusei ends up in a seemingly bad spot in the duel, getting knocked down to just 100 life points and losing his speed momentum, but he's not to be counted out just yet, as he then summons Junk Synchron. Why is this card special? Well, it's what is known as a tuner monster, which are monsters that are able to combine with other monsters in order to form stronger synchro monsters. What is a synchro monster? I'll explain in 1 second. Yusei then brings back his Speed Warrior Warrior monster and has Junk Synchron tune with it, which is essentially fusing but without the need for polymerization, as it then synchro summons Junk Warrior. Synchros were a new type of card in Yu-Gi-Oh! Added at this moment for the franchise, where the color of the face of the card was white. And like I said earlier, it's something that's in your extra deck that is akin to a fusion monster or a ritual monster. But in short, much like tuning a bike like we saw with Yusei making modifications to his, it essentially is the same thing for monsters here, which if anything is a way to connect and justify the whole dueling on motorcycles thing going on, I guess. Junk Warrior comes out with 2300 attack points, with Yusei then playing the spell card Vision Wind to bring back out Speed Warrior, with this card triggering a memory from Trudge about how that used to be his card and that Yusei won it off of him back when Yusei was in a re-education center, showing a bit more about the history between these two. As Yusei then uses Junk Warrior's special ability to power up by 900 attack points thanks to Speed Warrior coming back, making it have 3200 attack points now, which is stronger than Trudge's Montage Dragon, but instead of attacking it, Yusei goes for his other monster, Handcuffs Dragon, dealing some good damage to Trudge, but Handcuffs Dragon's effect comes into play, acting like a pair of handcuffs and gripping onto Junk Warrior to weaken it. Yusei then plays the trap card Equip Shot, sending Handcuffs Dragon over to Montage Dragon to weaken it down to 1200 attack points. With Trudge shocked at this, Yusei says that growing up on the streets, he's learned to become very resourceful, using everything to his advantage, with here in this situation including how to use his opponent's moves against themselves, as he then sends in Junk Warrior to finish the duel, resulting in Trudge's defeat. Yusei tells him not to underestimate satellites or their decks, because what you may see as weakness is what truly makes them strong, as he then peels out, saying to tell Jack thanks for the chip, as Trudge, under his breath, says that this ain't over between them. Yusei pulls over eventually to see a view of New Domino City, which is out a distance from where he's standing and across the water from Satellite, as he exclaims that he's heading there and they, especially Jack Atlas, should get ready. It's a pretty solid introduction to what's going on in the world that 5D's is setting up. All we know at this point is that we are in the same-ish area that we've known in Yu-Gi-Oh!, only now some amount of time in the future. There's also this duality of two cities going on here, where New Domino City is this rich and bright prosperous city filled with luxury and having what they would consider the more elite members of society, while there is this other city known as Satellite that is treated as this poor and dirty wasteland with crumbling infrastructure filled with people that are looked at as scum or just solely criminals that don't deserve to live like the elites do, having restrictions placed on them and sector security monitoring everything that they do. We see how they are talked down to, how they are derogatorily referred to, and how they are trapped in these cycles the system has in place like re-education centers. There is a strong emphasis on these themes that we'll get to explore throughout the run of 5Ds, but episode 1 really lays a nice groundwork for you to get a glimpse of one side while you really feel the struggle and suffering happening on the other. So what is the Satellite then, if this other place that we see is New Domino City? I guess we'll find out eventually, huh? Also, real quick, there will be a new bonus members only video dropping here on the channel within the following days of this video coming out, where in it I will be talking about and messing with my Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D's Duel terminal, the one that's always behind me in my videos. And with almost every video that I will release, there will be an additional video in relation to that topic that comes out for members only. So feel free to support the channel as a member to get access to every bonus video that has and will come out, with that support going directly right back into the channel. But just know that watching the video is great enough support as well. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, the main videos that I make, like this one you're watching now, will never be behind a paywall. But thank you to everyone who is a channel member. I hope you enjoy the extra videos. Getting into episode 2, we see a flashback to a regular non-bike related duel between Yusei and Jack, where Jack wins and tells Yusei that he lost because his deck has no balance. But this is a moment that we'll come back to later on in the episode, as it really ignited a change in perspective for Yusei when it comes to dueling in general. From here, we cut to Jack in the present, where he is living in luxury in a mansion that is on top of a skyscraper like he's David Xanatos from Gargoyles. He's pondering how he made it to the top, how he made it here to this moment, and that's by him having to have double-crossed his friends in order to live in this success now. You see, Jack actually is from the Satellite, and was able to make it out when that is never supposed to happen. There is a clear enforced separation. We do get to see that he holds on to the card that he took from Yusei and wonders how badly he wants it back, with the card getting revealed as the synchro monster Stardust Dragon. We also get to kind of meet another character named Rex Goodwin, who chats with Jack about Satellite, with Jack saying that if it were up to him, that place would have been destroyed long ago. Rex explains the importance of the balance between both Satellite and New Domino City with the roles that they play, saying that everyone has been given a role in life as well, with those from the Satellite existing so that the Chosen may prosper. They keep New Domino City functioning by recycling what the Chosen discard, so without them, this city for the Chosen couldn't exist. We see that Jack has some sort of marking on his arm though, so while he's being told by Rex to look towards the future, he's worried about his past metaphorically and physically catching up to him. His one lingering link to the past and where he's from is Yusei Fudo, and Rex assures him that they are doing everything they can to keep that link severed. Back in the satellite, Yusei is testing and timing just how fast his runner can go, as he's planning his big escape from the satellite to make it into New Domino City, claiming he is going to make this attempt when the clock strikes midnight. The full plan has to do with Yusei getting to Jack so that he can get his Stardust Dragon back, and with that card, it'll somehow be the ticket that will help him and his friends here escape from their lives in the satellite. We end up getting a bit more lore about what happened in the past with Jack, as we see that he was hanging out with this same group of friends, and was there when Yusei built a runner out of spare recycled parts, showing it off, and along with it, the Stardust Dragon, as all of his friends were in awe over it. Well, almost all of them, as Jack would apparently have other plans. As for the full plan that Yusei has, he explains that there is only one way in and out of the city, and that's through the sewer pipeline that is usually filled with trash from New Domino City 24/7, all aside from once a month, where the system shuts down for maintenance for a few minutes with a hatch on the other side being the small opening to get into the city. With all of his tests, Yusei is fast enough to make it through the pipeline with that opening chance happening literally that night. It's a limited window of time. If he doesn't make it, things aren't going to end up well for him or his runner. Before it's time to make the attempt, these bully characters that were messing with Yusei's friends earlier on in the day follow them to this location, and one of them wants the runner for himself, demanding a duel for it, or he'll go and tell sector security about it. Yusei takes on this challenge, stating that if you don't stand up to bullies, they'll never learn, as he then grabs his duel disc in a pretty slick way because it's inside of the runner, as you can place it into the bike or take it out, and I absolutely love that. I think that is really cool technology. Again, I really admire the change to having things explained quickly by the computer here instead of the over explanations from the characters themselves, because it feels like it keeps the pacing running smoothly throughout the episodes. While the duel itself isn't all that exciting, you do get to see and hear about the struggles that basically anyone living in the satellite have, and understand why they have the desire to make it out of there for a chance at a better life somewhere else, even if that means they make choices that are in morally gray zones. Yusei ends up winning, but he tells the guy that an old friend told him that when your back's against the wall and it feels like there's no way out, as long as you trust in the power of your deck, you can find a way out of any situation. With this then putting us back into the flashback from the start of the episode with Yusei's duel with Jack, as he's telling Yusei that he could have beat him in the duel if he only believed in the strength of every card that he duels with. If he believes, he will feel their power. And this becomes a lesson in core value that from that point Yusei lives by, showing just how close Jack and Yusei were and what he meant to Yusei. From this, the bully ends up being pretty chill, appreciating that Yusei can see beyond all that happened and understands the struggle they all face here, with him hoping that they can be friends someday and even duel again, hopefully above ground and not in secrecy from the law in the shadows below. Now, before it's time for Yusei's plan to kick into action, we see that Trudge gets a new upgraded deck from his captain in sector security, as despite this captain being mad at Trudge, Jack Atlas directly requested this second chance being given here to happen, as the mission is to get Yusei off the street permanently with no third chance being given if this attempt goes wrong. I really love how these episodes are peeling back the layers of the story that we didn't get to see that led to this point. The mystery of this relationship between Yusei and Jack has you feeling this closeness that Yusei holds on to, while Jack wants to seemingly erase any trace of it, and I think it's all getting explored in quite a fun way.
Next, Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D's.
Signing back on.
But now the clock is ticking closer to midnight, and all of Yusei's friends are nervous for him, questioning if he'll really make it to New Domino City or not. Rally seems to never lose faith in him though, as he even gives Yusei a card that his father gave him, Turbo Booster, as he tells Yusei, just like my dad always says, you never know when you'll need a boost, and it's just a really sweet moment in general. You can really feel just how much Rally looks up to and cares about Yusei. With Yusei now heading topside to make a break for the sewer pipeline, the chip within his runner ends up pinging sector security to his exact location, as Trudge rushes out to be in pursuit. Once he finds Yusei, Trudge mentions that he's breaking curfew, as he then starts derailing Yusei's plans here, thanks to the ability for Trudge to hack into the chip installed in Yusei's runner and forcing a turbo duel to happen. On top of this, Trudge uses a special card called Gate Blocker, locking Yusei from gaining speed counters during his standby phase of the duel, as he does drop the hard line about this being fitting for Yusei because just like in life, he's going nowhere. And look, hey, I don't support Trudge or his actions or even what he's saying, but it was a dope line to drop after making that play. Beyond that, Trudge mentions that when bringing him in this time, it won't be just another trip to the re-education center, but instead a special facility to keep him locked up for a long time. But now midnight strikes, and the few-minute window has begun ticking down for him to make it through. Since Yusei must duel, he ends up using the turbo booster card given to him in the efforts of a combination attack that takes out the gate blocker, which was really cool for Rally to watch, as he and the others are monitoring the whole thing going down. This does lead to a great moment where one of the friends, Blitz, is going all like, he might be able to take out gate blocker, which means he might be able to break free, which means he might be able to kick into overdrive, which means he might still make it. Of course, he might not. It's a great build-up, pause, and pull-back moment. Pure comedy. Yusei ends up making it to the main pipeline, but with this being a straight shot forward now, there's no way for him to lose Trudge, and the duel must go on with the limited time left to make it to the other side. Trudge ends up sending out 2 gate blockers at once, as the two of them go back and forth about why Yusei is trying to get to New Domino City, with Trudge mentioning that Yusei's kind don't fit in there, as Yusei isn't worried about that one bit. He ends up synchro summoning Junk Warrior as we hear him starting to drop his signature catchphrase more and more, with that being rev it up. I'm more of a fan of chaz it up personally, but I've already yapped about that for about 15 hours and we've moved on. Trudge ends up surprising Yusei by summoning Jude Fighter and tuning it with one of his gate blockers to synchro summon Goyo Guardian with 2800 attack points, attacking Junk Warrior, but instead of completely destroying it, it uses its special ability to take control of it to do its bidding, with Yusei then pointing out that's exactly what Trudge is to Jack Atlas, nothing more than a pawn to do his bidding, and ooh, you could just tell that one really got to him. Now, the only thing more unrealistic than the whole racing on bikes while dueling thing here is how time apparently works, because at one point we see the countdown showing that there is 1 minute and 56 seconds left until the opening in the pipeline closes, and then after 3 minutes of dueling and yapping back and forth, we see that there's still 1 minute and 40 seconds left, and I just think it's funny. We do get a chance to see why the speed counter is important though, since we really didn't get a deep explanation of it before, as some speed spells have requirement levels of speed counters needed in order for them to be played, with Trudge then playing his card, the speed spell Sonic Buster, a couple times, showing how aggressively he's playing compared to their last duel, leaving Yusei with only 50 life points left now and slowing his speed way down. However, Yusei ends up summoning the tuner monster Nitro Synchron and activates a speed spell called Dash Pilfer in order to gain control of his Junk Warrior once more. He surprises Trudge by revealing that he ended up playing the trap card called Slipstream that ended up saving him from losing all of his speed counters and kept it matched to the same amount Trudge had when he used his second Sonic Blaster. Trudge comments, "That's just like you, waiting for handouts and latching onto someone else," with Yusei mentioning that after all these years Trudge has known him, that he still doesn't know anything about him, claiming that Trudge is all about these rules, but when he sees them being broken, he's never once stopped to ask why they are being broken in the first place. Now, another 3 minutes have passed and there's still 39 seconds left somehow, and his friends call out that he only has 35 seconds left. You know, there's no rhyme or reason for what's going on with the time here at all, is there? Just cartoon logic, and that's fine. Yusei then has Nitro Synchron and Junk Warrior come together to synchro summon Nitro Warrior with 2800 attack points, gaining 1000 more attack points on top of that thanks to it being summoned the same turn a speed spell was used, as he then defeats Trudge's Goyo Guardian. Continuing the strategy here, this activates the other effect it has, where if it destroys a monster and there is another monster the opponent has in defense mode, it forces it into attack mode, thus making the second gate blocker change into attack position with only 100 attack points, where Nitro Warrior then destroys it and wins the duel, leading to Trudge also wiping out. Ouch. But like a, like a well-deserved ouch. But we see that the time left for this hatch to be open for this pipeline rush hits 0, with Yusei nearly at the opening as we see it closing, and the main sewer gate starting to open, and hey, I know that this is a sewer system meant for waste, but there is a whole car in there, along with dozens of fridges, couches, and more, and man, the rich really just be discarding whatever, because I guess they can just afford it. Anyway, Yusei narrowly avoids it all by drifting underneath it and barely making it into the hatch before it closes. And hey, I know what you're all thinking. Does this mean Trudge gets crushed by the tumbling items coming his way? And the answer to that is yes it does. But you know, I'm sure he'll be okay. Yusei ends up making it into New Domino City, but then immediately runs into Jack, who was waiting for him there to greet him, asking if he's happy to see his old friend Jack again. Hey, just be glad he isn't your uncle and he's not asking for your help getting down from a horse. Continuing their confrontation, Yusei just wants his Stardust Dragon back from Jack, but not the runner Jack stole from him, claiming the new one is treating him well, and then you could just feel all this palpable tension between the two of them. Jack justifies taking the card based on him not being able to bear it being in the hands of a loser within the satellite, as Yusei questions why Jack would do that when it was the only hope for him and all of the friends in the group to get out of satellite in the first place, saying it was meant to help them all, with Jack retorting with it certainly helped him. And as a thank you for it helping him technically, Jack tosses him the card back, saying he doesn't need it anymore, but after a moment, Yusei tosses it right back, saying he first rather make him pay for what he did, and once he beats him, then he'll properly take his card back. In the spirit of things leading to a duel, Jack ends up bringing Yusei to the Kaiba Dome, as we get a bit of a ride there to show off the city, and giving us a chance to really see how different things look and feel here compared to the satellite. At the same time, we enter in on this sector security meeting taking place in the middle of the night, where a professor named Zigzix, who is the director of engineering, is speaking to Rex Goodwin, as Rex is the technical head of sector security, explaining to him that their spinning generator has gone into overdrive. Now, this special generator is used to power everything within the city, making sure everything is functioning the way it does. From this increasing power, the professor shows a presentation of the generator and calls it a perpetual motion machine of sorts, with it producing more energy than thought possible. The more energy it produces, the more powerful it becomes. He claims that if it keeps spinning round and round like this, that they will be the masters of the universe, correcting himself to calling Rex the singular master of the universe instead. But this is all giving us more of the building blocks as to who Rex is and what his goals truly are. This presentation is interrupted as Rex is pulled away, but he does tell the professor to keep diving into the research about it and learn what the machine is truly capable of. Now, Rex was pulled away over Jack Atlas going and doing his own thing, which was by himself going to confront Yusei. Overseeing the monitoring of all of the cameras is a guy named Lazar, who is the vice director of sector security and right underneath Rex, and we can see that he wants the control of this place all to himself, thinking that one day this is all going to be his, but for now he continues on his role as number 2. And just between you and me, I am getting major Bonaparte vibes here. If you've seen Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, you know what I'm saying. They are surprised to see Yusei, a person from the satellite, now being in the city, but Rex doesn't want this information going out into the public, nor wanting to interfere, as he much rather see how Jack handles himself in this situation, but is keeping guards on standby, you know, if need be. Lazar really just wants to go in and stop this all from happening and send Yusei to the facility, but Rex isn't saying a word as he just watches everything going down. Jack taunts Yusei over never reaching the level of success he has, never being able to hear his name being chanted from fans in a stadium, none of that. And to really teach him a lesson, he's going to duel with Yusei's Stardust Dragon to add insult to injury, as he wants him going back to the satellite as an embarrassment and a disappointment to his friends, especially if they know that he turned down just taking the card back when he had the chance, as he let some sort of pride get in the way here. Yusei's pretty stone cold about this though, not saying anything and just getting right into the duel. Now, as we've seen with these turbo duels, there's a blend of 3D action here for some of the shots, and I must say that it really isn't too jarring. I know a lot of the time when 3D assets get involved in a 2D animated show, it can look weird and look like it really doesn't fit in, but here I think it looks pretty decent as it cuts back and forth between the 3D and 2D animation. Yusei ends up getting out his Junk Warrior as well as his Speed Warrior, and activating Junk Warrior's effect to gain 900 attack points extra for a total of 3200 attack points, with Speed Warrior's ability getting to double his own attack points to 1800. Yusei seemingly is getting the upper hand at the start, but he's noticing that Jack is playing more cautious and less aggressive, more like he's waiting and planning for something instead of how he usually would play. While Jack ends up having some counters that led to Junk Warrior's attack points getting cut in half temporarily, the two of them bring up part of their past, where Yusei points out that he's playing the same strategies here that he used to save Jack from sector security and from rotting in the facility, as Jack later replies about that time, claiming it was all just a setup. He didn't really need saving, he just needed a chance to get Yusei's runner from him, with the Stardust Dragon being an added-in bonus. Yusei tries to believe that what he's saying is a lie, but Jack pushes back at this, claiming he was just waiting for the opportunity to take it all for himself. And now he's going to send Yusei back to the satellite where garbage like him belong, as he then activates the trap card Space Gate. And so for every time Yusei has already attacked him so far, he gets a gate counter, meaning he has 2 now, as we will see the ability of this card come into play soon for what those special counters do. Jack tries to be cool, saying he has the need for speed, but we already know he's a thief, so whatever, it's on brand for him to say that line, I guess. He starts driving backwards and upside down to taunt Yusei more throughout the duel, which is cool and flashy for sure, but just completely unnecessary. Well, you know, dueling while riding motorcycles in general is completely unnecessary, but you know, I digress. Jack then plays the speed spell Speed Fusion to special fusion summon multiple piece golem with 2600 attack points points and destroys Yusei's Speed Warrior. In response, Usay activates his trap card Defense Draw, negating the damage he would have taken, as well as he can now draw a card. But with Speed Warrior gone, Junk Warrior goes back down to its original attack points at 2300. Jack uses his multiple piece Golem special ability to separate back into the two monsters that it took to create it, then using one of their special abilities to get this third little Golem creature out, now having small piece, medium piece, and big piece Golem all out together, as he also then summons the tuner monster Dark Resonator, tuning it with big piece Golem to bring out the synchro monster Red Dragoned Archfiend with 3000 attack points. While Jack wanted to initially defeat Yusei with this, his signature card, he thought of something more fitting. He now sends his Space Gate trap card to the grave to activate its effect, using the counters earned so far for it in order to summon a monster from his hand equal to or lower than the counters earned, bringing out another tuner monster, Sinister Sprocket, and tuning it with both the small and medium piece golems in order to bring out Stardust Dragon with 2500 attack points. Jack taunts Yusei with his own powerful card now being in the mix, telling him he wanted to reunite with his card so badly, well, here it is, and be careful what you wish for. As the duel continues on into the next episode, Yusei gets very defensive in his strategy now, getting his monsters into defense mode as Jack says you gotta play aggressive if you want to win, but didn't you start off the duel not being aggressive, Jack? Specifically it was called out how reserved you're playing? Anyway, Red Dragon Archfiend has the ability to take out all of Yusei's monsters in defense mode, as Jack asks if he even learned anything from back in the day, where in the schoolyard when mean bullies would come around and threaten him and his friends in the auto shop for their lunch money, what did fighting back ever get you? A black eye and an empty stomach, trying to claim that he should know fighting back is pointless and things would be less painful if he did. He then asks if he came to the city to come get even with him and throw down, then why is he acting like that scared kid from the playground, as Yusei thinks to himself saying, it's called strategy, actually. Ever heard of it? But also, real quick, why would he be the scared kid on the playground if you just said that he tried fighting back against the bullies? A scared person would have forfeited the money to avoid a physical altercation. With Yusei being open for a direct attack now, Jack sends in Stardust Dragon, bringing Yusei all the way down to 500 life points left. Yusei then summons Sonic Chick with 300 attack points, and with its effect, if an opponent's monster attacks it and has 1900 attack points or more than the 300 it has, then Sonic Chick can't be destroyed. Yusei implies that Jack is a chicken based on Jack double-crossing him and the others in the middle of the night, and I love that we get these little bits and pieces of lines that tell the full story of what really happened in the past between them. It's a nice way to pepper it in for you as the viewer to piece together naturally. Jack makes it clear that whatever happens in this duel, Yusei isn't going anywhere, as Jack has a button that he can press that will send in sector security directly to him and arrest Yusei, claiming that Yusei didn't think through the outcome of his plan here too well. When Jack tries attacking, Yusei activates the trap card Remote Revenge as it deflects the attack and can destroy every monster in attack mode on Jack's field. But Jack activates one of Stardust Dragon's special abilities, where if a card is activated that can destroy all of his monsters, Stardust Dragon can sacrifice itself in order to save the others, as he then activates its second effect to revive itself to the field. Yusei then activates the trap card Harmonia Mirror, allowing him to take control of the Stardust Dragon thanks to it being summoned to the field with a method outside of synchro summoning, as he seemingly planned for this all to happen like this. And Yusei knows how his own Stardust Dragon works, and would probably know how to counter it well enough. Come on, Jack, get your head in the game, man. Played right into this. But it's a nice moment overall for Yusei to be reunited with his dragon properly in the duel, with Jack even being slightly impressed, claiming he maybe even learned a thing or two since their old days in the satellite together. Yusei calls back to what Jack told him in the flashback we saw in the other episode, reiterating what was said and what it means to him. Back at Sector Security, Lazar is worried about Jack's reputation if this duel with the satellite gets made public, so he tries to convince Rex more and more just to shut this down, but Rex just waves his hand to silence him, and then Lazar just puts his hand on his chin and goes, which is weird, right? Why would he seemingly be satisfied from that response? Well, in the Japanese version of the show, he was instead talking about his excitement for seeing the outcome, which makes more sense for his reaction, I guess. I don't know. I feel like we could have edited the script better here for the English dub. But back in the duel, Yusei plays the speed spell Silver Contrails, giving a win attribute monster on his field 1000 attack points temporarily, bringing his Stardust Dragon to 3500 attack points. But when he sends in an attack, something happens where both duelists' arms hurt, as we see the generator the professor was talking about earlier overflowing with power, as the professor himself is amazed at it, calling Rex to report that it is surging heavily with energy, and if it keeps up like this, things are about to get crazy. Rex tells him to keep recording all of his research and findings for now. In the aftermath of Stardust Dragon's attack, Red Dragon Archfiend is still standing as Yusei's Sonic Chick disappears. Jack says better luck next time, showing he activated the trap card Synchro Deflector to stop the attack, and using that energy from it to get rid of the weakest monster on Yusei's field. With the attack phase over, Stardust Dragon's 1000 attack boost wears off, as he then summons Ghost Gardna in defense mode and some cards face down to end his turn. Even though they are still dueling, both of them are feeling surges of pain in their arms, trying to continue on through it though. Jack sends in Red Dragon Archfiend to attack Stardust Dragon, but Ghost Gardna's effect makes it the attack's target instead, and when Yusei is about to call out more of the special abilities it has, Jack remembers plenty of the old days hanging out and dueling Yusei, saying, yeah, I know, you're going to say that now my Red Dragon Archfiend will have its attack points lowered by 1000 until the end of the turn. And using this mocking factor here as a way to disguise the explanation of the ability was pretty funny. I liked that quite a bit. And now with the dueling continuing back and forth as they each counter one another's strategies, Yusei is down to 200 life points left, with Jack also pretty low at 900 left. But the pain from the surges they are feeling is getting worse, as Jack starts believing that this is somehow Yusei's doing. The generator has reached its maxed out limit and is surging to dangerous levels, and from it all, right between the dragons in play in the duel, a red aura has formed around them, and eventually an eye in the aura forms, with Rex taking notice and getting surprised by it, thinking that what he's seeing is absolutely incredible. The aura then starts forming into the shape of a dragon, with Yusei having no clue as to what's going on, as Jack thinks this is Yusei pulling some sort of trick on him for the duel. Both of their eyes end up turning red when looking at it, as Jack, in his ignorance, and thinking this is Yusei's fault, tries continuing on the duel, as Yusei questions what Jack's thinking, as he knows they need to stop this duel now out of a safety concern here. Jack's all like, no way, Jose, which in turn has Yusei replying, oh, alright, you know, I do think we'll both regret this decision then, but whatever, let's run it. As he then tries to continue dueling as well, but the power is surging too strong, causing them to swerve out of control as all of the power in the city ends up going out, with Rex claiming that the mighty beast has awoken from its slumber, showing that he knows way more about what's actually going on here. While the backup generator kicks in for sector security, the cameras are now all offline to see what's going on for Yusei and Jack, but Rex claims he's seen all that he's need to see here. This mighty dragon expands its wings in the sky over the Kaiba Dome before roaring and turning into particles, and from the dust all settling, we see both runners have now crashed with a giant hole bursting out of the ground on the track. Yusei's arm is still burning as he reveals his arm has a glowing marking on it, questioning where it came from. Jack notices it as well and says, it's not just me, revealing the marking we were teased with on his arm earlier, with it glowing and burning as well. And Jack seems to know what these markings are, at least to some extent, but isn't explaining anything to Yusei, as he stands there in silence from the shock of it all. The marking on Yusei ends up fading away completely as sector security shows up, surrounding Yusei and placing him under arrest for breaking the law of being a satellite who has come to New Domino City. This whole duel was a great way to see the dynamic between Yusei and Jack at play, all while not technically giving us a definitive winner of the duel, while at the same time building up a couple new mysteries. And on top of that, leaving Yusei in the worst position he could be in possible.
Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D's will sign back on after these messages. Signing back on.
Jumping right into the next episode, we have Yusei dealing with the justice system controlled by sector security, where the judge reads out all of the offenses put on him. Turbo dueling without a license, malicious mischief, and entering the limits of New Domino City without a permit. But it's not until that final offense that the judge really cares, instantly punishing him by adding markings to Yusei's face, calling it tracking dye as if it's being painted on, with Yusei making the comment that it tickles. However, in the Japanese version, it's kinda like a laser tattoo, and Yusei is screaming in pain over it, but I guess for younger audiences I can see why they changed that for the English dub. You and I can still pretend it's a laser tattoo though. And that's not all for the punishment, by the way, it's just the start, as they end up taking him for a stay at the facility for a few months. He is told that after his stay there, he will be free to go back to Satellite as long as he never duels or sets foot in New Domino City again. On his way to the facility, he ends up meeting an older man named Yanagi, who will end up being his cellmate, and who also apparently saw everything happen the previous night, thinking he may have something to do with the power going out in the city and the red dragon appearing over the Kaiba Dome, with it being a pretty big spectacle to not notice, you know, especially during a blackout. We then see Jack waking up in bed from having nightmares about the dragon and still feeling the pain in his arm, but having no memory of what really happened in the end last night. He speaks with Mina, his direct handler and the secretary to Rex, as she fills him in on everything, mentioning that from what happened with the power outage, it ended up saving Jack from losing the duel, with Jack claiming that that part can't be true because he says he had him right where he wanted him. So, you know, Meehan switches it up to being like, "Oh, you're so right, Jack. How foolish of me. My bad." We then cut to Rex speaking with the professor about last night, playing back recordings and going over the data from the duel that shows a burst of ultimate energy when Stardust Dragon and Red Dragon Archfiend were attacking one another, thus correlating energy siphoned from dueling in general, which is something we've seen in the past for Yu-Gi-Oh, like specifically in GX, as the professor here calls it Ener-D, and yes, the D stands for dueling. Lazar jumps in saying that what happened was strong enough to awaken the ancient and mystical powers of the Crimson Dragon, giving a direct name to what everyone saw. The potential of the power that this dragon has could cause cataclysmic events to unleash, but when the Crimson Dragon disappeared, it seemed to be the cause of the power grid overloading, and that's where the trace of the dragon ends. Rex is very happy about all of this data, claiming that the amount of power from its summoning was greater than they ever imagined. At the facility, which is this prison-like building that is housed underground somewhere, we see Yusei getting scanned in, now having an identification number thanks to his markings. The rules here are pretty simple: no fighting, no dueling, and more importantly than anything else, no chewing gum. Huh? For real, man?
No chewing gum.
Man. Alright, here you go, Pikachu. Hold on to this for me. I'm coming back for you. Much like a regular prison facility, the guards can essentially get away with whatever they want, as we see right away that one of them lets free another prisoner who is itching to give a hello to his new cell neighbors. And well, maybe all of the other neighbors around are stopping by too. Yanagi has been to the facility many times before, and now has found an easier way to sneak in his whole deck of cards. Yusei knows that it's illegal to be dueling in the facility in the first place, and that cards are considered contraband, but Yanagi says that dueling is the only way to stay safe in here. All of those other prisoners come around and corner Yusei and Yanagi, with the top dog of the prisoners, a guy named Tanner, now getting in Yusei's face about anyone whose first day it is there having to have a duel, and if you duel good, you get respect. The old man is a big fan of this Tanner guy and wants to duel with him first, excited to use his own smuggled in deck that he claims to be the best there is. It's full of treasure-related cards that he himself really treasures. But hold on, why is there this dueling gym in the facility here if dueling is banned in the first place? You know, you get what I'm saying? Either way, this duel isn't anything too exciting, aside from there seemingly being all these, what feel like, references to Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, so that's neat. I was just reading about that movie coming out in my latest issue of Nick Magazine. Shia LaBeouf's in it, and his career just looks so promising. Oh, this issue appears to be from 2008. It seems like I'm 18 years too late. Oh, sorry, excuse me. Shia LaBeouf did what? The old man's not a great duelist. Most of his cards backfired on him, as he ends up not really knowing how to play and use them properly, resulting in him losing, with Tanner trying to take his cards afterwards. Yanagi tries pleading with him to let him keep them, as he says these cards are all that he has left, with him spending his whole life collecting them, claiming all these ridiculous feats of how he acquired them throughout his life from all around the world, as Tanner is standing on one of the cards and smearing it into the ground, not caring about what's being said. So Yusei, well, he just trips him over. Yusei then asks to use Yanagi's cards, claiming to see the true value of this deck of his as Yusei prepares to face Tanner in a duel, telling him that it's time for him to learn what respect truly means. While that's all been going down, we see back at Sector Security, Jack comes in to interrupt Rex and the others' meeting, as he is looking for some answers on what went down last night, as Rex tells him that he's lucky his little match didn't end up on the news, as he broke a dozen laws in the process of it all. Rex wants to know more about what Jack witnessed with the Crimson Dragon, but Jack wants to know why his red arm marking began to burn. Rex calls this the Crimson Dragon's mark, a symbol of power, and that he should be proud of it because it means that he is one of the rare few known as a signer. When this is revealed and the term signer is brought up, everyone else in the room immediately bows and shows respect. Rex says this means Jack's destined for greatness, but when Jack mentions that Yusei had one as well, it catches Rex off guard, saying that signs mean far more than you know, and that he has to be sure that he 100% saw Yusei having a marking as well. But Jack knows Yusei can't be heading for greatness too. He says the only thing Yusei's heading towards in the future is minimum wage, claiming that Yusei's marking must be a fake because he didn't have it back in the satellite. But for Jack, he then notices something from the recording of the duel that's being displayed, seeing that Yusei was going to play the trap card Meteor Stream right before their duel was forced to stop, and is shocked as Lazar explains that Jack underestimated Yusei, and that his counterattack here would have destroyed Jack's winning streak, so he should be thanking the heavens the power went out like it did. After Jack argues about this, he realizes that he would have lost to Meteor Strike, no ifs, ands, or buts. Jack truly feels like this is a loss, as Rex tries to comfort him about last night never technically happening anyway, wink wink nudge nudge type beat. Regardless of that, Jack wants to settle things and duel Yusei right now, but you know, that can't happen because Yusei is now in the facility and sentenced to be there for quite some time. So Jack claims that he is going to the facility then, but Rex begs him not to let his ego have him make a stupid decision and saying that his sign is his destiny. While this episode and the next couple are a lot more dense with lore, we do get to start understanding a lot of where the plot is going, all while getting to see the duality of Yusei and Jack under more of a microscope. Back at the facility with Yusei stepping up to duel, Yanagi feels like there is something special about him based on this, as well as all the stuff he's tied into with the Crimson Dragon he witnessed. While the duel is going on, Chief Armstrong, the warden of the facility, is monitoring it all on camera as Rex speaks to him on the phone and tells him to report to him if anything unusual happens during it. As for Rex, he spends time with Jack, explaining that their relationship worked on a need-to-know basis, with Rex knowing a lot of important secret things that Jack has no clue about. But now, there is a need, and no, not for speed, so it's time for Jack to learn about what's really going on. Rex tells him that he's not important because he's a great duelist, but rather he's a great duelist because he's important. Jack's all like, I'm gonna pretend that made sense. And you know what? In fact, throughout a lot of what Jack starts to learn about here, he's kind of goofy with how he takes in the information, inserting random little comments like, okay, between the gaps in sentences from Rex's explanations. I kind of love it. It makes the serious factor of things not feel so overly serious. As they venture into a weird room underneath the building, Rex tells him that this is where his destiny lies, as here, one of the world's best kept secrets is. Before them is an ancient structure with the symbol of the Crimson Dragon on it. The mark on Jack's arm specifically represents the right wing of the Crimson Dragon. Something political joke, haha. Rex continues on, revealing more about himself, saying he's the 360th guardian of the star, with the order he's a part of being referred to as the Order of Iliaster, a group that swore an oath to maintain balance in the universe. Iliaster is the power that gives everything in nature its inner essence and outward form. The universe, energy, mankind, Iliaster is the power running through it all that binds these things together. Rex shows Jack a closer look at the special shrine, showing these carvings in it depicting ancient myths and legends, how the universe began, the dawn of time, the birth of civilization, the creation of the Order, and the Great War of the Demons. Okay, I don't remember that last one. Within the room, Rex starts projecting more of this history in order to take Jack on a journey through time, showing the events from long ago of this pre-Incan civilization in South America, where the people of the stars built a giant building of stone that would be known as the Stairway of the Dragon. It was built in honor of the Dragon Star, which was said to govern all of creation. All of this wisdom was handed down to their ruler, the Star Dragon King, and from this, they built a great civilization. But the gate to the Shadow Realm was opened, where legends tell of evil demons and spirits led by the Demon Lord coming from it and engaging in a great war. This unbeatable battle led to the king climbing the stairway and begging the Dragon Star to help as the great Crimson Dragon came down from above to answer these prayers. It saved the world by sealing the forces of evil deep beneath the earth. Rex then shows off that the Nazca lines, which are these real-life geoglyphs found in Peru, are the seal markings of the Crimson Dragon. And I always love when we can tie things like this into real life. It just makes it fun. While it's been a long time since the Demon Lord and his forces were sealed away, the forces still continue to this day, drawing energy from mankind. They feed off of humankind's sadness, jealousy, anger, greed, and more, with Rex warning that soon these forces will gain more power than they ever had before, being able to then break the dragon seal and return to pillage the earth. He says that when that day happens, he and his order will be prepared to summon the Crimson Dragon and protect humanity. But in order to do so, they must find all the signers, ones who also carry the mark of the dragon like Jack and Yusei do. Speaking of Yusei, his duel ends up just being him wanting to show that every deck has potential and that these cards aren't worthless. It's all about appreciating them and their power to figure out how to use them properly. And I know that I, should care more about the duel and everything that's going on here, but I'm sorry, I'm just too distracted by Longhead over here in the background because I don't know if I want to be his friend or if I should fear him. Tanner actually starts showing some respect to to Yusei in the duel based on how good of an opponent he is, claiming that he reminds him of himself. Yusei ends up winning the duel using the deck in a way where he never even technically attacked once, which really impressed Tanner, as he shows him genuine appreciation for a great duel after losing. And with Tanner once being a pro duelist himself, he offers to help Yusei however he can to get him into the world of the pros, thanks to how incredible he just dueled. So that could lead to something cool, maybe. The older ex-professional getting a chance to witness and maybe even assist in some part of this younger duelist's rise, coming from the struggles of the streets and going to the top of the dueling heap. That just sounds like a heartwarming sports movie. 1 ticket, please. With the duel over now, the warden, Chief Armstrong, has Yusei brought into his office as he is trying to find out what Yusei is hiding, saying it's his job to discover whatever it is, initially pulling up his sleeve to look for the marking that had disappeared. As they begin running tests on Yusei, Rex is back in his office at the sector security building going over all the data from what Armstrong is doing and from what they already have, but as of now, nothing has shown up to indicate this marking being real. In the reports about Yusei in general, there is a lack of information about his past, like who he exactly is or where he really came from, as Lazar points to Yusei maybe not being this special person Rex thinks he could be. But Rex wants to get hands-on now, opting to go and pay Yusei a visit in the facility to handle things another way to get the information he seeks. With Yusei back in his cell for now and speaking with Yanagi, the old man seems to know what the marking Yusei brings up about appearing on him was, calling it the Mark of the Dragon, and telling Yusei that he must be a signer, explaining that he heard about them long ago, bringing up the lore Rex gave us in the last episode as being these myths and rumors, but now it seems that they might actually be real. He goes into a deeper explanation about the signers specifically, with there being a total of 5 signers, each one having the mark of a different dragon that they could call forth to aid them in battle. Another part of the legend goes that the mystical powers of the 5 dragons were all sealed and captured within 5 different duel monster cards. Ah, that's what 5D's stands for. Heck, and all this time I thought it stood for 5D's nut. Rex shows up the next day at the facility in order to implement a new program for the inmates, with it really being a plan to test and understand Yusei, to see who he really is and if he is a signer. The program is called the Pilot Program, and the disguised purpose is to see if someone has the mark of the champion, as Rex presents this all as a way for one person here out of all of the prisoners to be taken out of here to have a better opportunity potentially in life. Someone that he will take under his wing, and if that person ends up proving to be a useful member of society and overall net positive for New Domino City, then he'll be happy to offer a full pardon, a clean record, and even a potential invite to live in New Domino City. He's basically just saying all of this to Yusei without directly making it too obvious, at least until the main presentation is done and the rest of the prisoners aside from him are told to go back to their cells. Rex wants to know what Yusei thinks about being the person he chose, as he says he doesn't want any part of it. Rex starts dangling the answers to things going on as a way to interest him, claiming that he knows about the mark of the dragon that appeared on his arm. And yeah, Yusei wants to know what this all means, as Rex says that's what he's hoping to uncover with Yusei's help. Yusei doesn't trust him though, claiming that Rex is clearly hiding something and he's just going to use him. Rex says, of course, in a way, we all use one another, giving the example about how the satellite needs the trash that comes from New Domino City to recycle it into energy and heat that New Domino City uses, which, doesn't seem like a fair trade-off. That's not 2 things living in harmony that depend on each other. That's just New Domino City being a leech, a parasite, having control over and draining all it can from Satellite. Yusei says it's not trash that he and those living in Satellite need, it's freedom, with Rex saying, fine, it's yours. Yusei just needs to come with Rex in order to study the marking together to hopefully unlock the secrets of the signers. But if Yusei declines, Rex threatens a worse consequence for Yusei. Despite the worry of the unknown, like his name's Molly, whose father is now an Entei, Yusei says he'll take his chances with whatever this threat is, as the threat of what's to come is lingering before we end up finding out what it is. Meanwhile, Jack is still taking his almost loss pretty hard, thinking how could a loser like him be a signer and supposed to be a part of saving the world if he was gonna lose to scum from the satellite? Ugh, Yusei, I can't believe I was gonna lose to you, yuck. When Mina comes in talking about preparations for a duel Jack has the next day, he says he refuses. His rank as number 1 means nothing anymore and he's throwing in the towel until he gets his rematch with Yusei to prove that he can beat him. Mina says that he has to because he has a contractual obligation to his sponsors. As Jack says, you think I care? Well, hey buddy, you may not, but I sure do. That's right, it's Gamersup's time. How do you think Yusei, Jack, and anyone else on these motorcycles are able to get into all these turbo duels at any given moment? They're powered up with with gamer subs. They take a scoop, they put it in some water, they shake it all around, and they drink it, and they're good to go. Sometimes it's a duel for me just to sit through and watch so many episodes of something, make a script about it, do all this work to make a video, and it's safe to say I get pretty tired. But you know what keeps me feeling good, what keeps me feeling energized, that can power through all this? Gamer subs. If you go to the link below or you use code FRINGE, you're gonna get 10% off your order every time you order gamer subs. Not just a one-time thing, not a two-time thing. You can do this like 900 billion times. That's factually accurate. And aside from getting the 10% off by using code FRINGE, you're not only getting yourself something nice and saving a little bit of money, you're also directly helping support the channel. Thank you to everyone who does click my link or use my code. It really helps out. And now that we've refueled a little bit here and we're back on our bikes, let's hit the road and continue on with some Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds. Jack mentions that dueling is much more than just winning trophies and earning big paydays, claiming that it's funny how Yusei seems to be the only other one in his world now that gets that sentiment. But come the next day, Jack still agrees to move forward with his obligated duel at the Kaiba Dome. His opponent is Hunter Pace, the former #1 ranked turbo duelist until Jack dethroned him from that title, and the same guy that we saw Jack turbo dueling in the first episode. When Jack gets his big announcement entrance, the announcer calls him the Master of Faster, and I like that. I like that one a lot. That's a good title. With the crowds roaring, the cheerleaders cheering, and the engines revving, everyone here is all in excitement over this rematch. But Jack is thinking to himself that this is all just a big waste. Sure, he'll put on a little show for all of them to enjoy, but the real champion in his mind is somewhere sitting in a cell, still feeling like he fully did lose to Yusei, and that he himself doesn't deserve the title of technical champion, as well as him making it seem like he is just this puppeted entertainer trained to dance around for New Domino City's amusement. When the duel gets going, he sends out his tuner monster, Dark Resonator, but doing so by telling it to put up the big D, which from the context of what the monster does next, I'll just assume it stood for defense. Hunter Pace gives him a run for his money, seemingly, quickly bringing Jack down to only 1,000 life points left, as this is all really personal for Hunter. As for him, when Jack originally beat him and took the #1 ranked title, he lost all his sponsors, his paychecks, his house, and his fans. So that's why he keeps coming back to try and get it all back for himself. As the duel continues, we get fun moments like this happening where some effect causes Hunter to get these random revival tokens on his field sent from Jack, with the announcer then asking what's happening, as Hunter replies back, "I don't know, dude, why don't you tell me?" With the announcer then becoming the exposition device to break down what's exactly happening. And again, I really love these switch ups here and brand new ways that the show is trying to incorporate this in without it being like it used to be in the other series before it. Jack gets his Red Dragon Archfiend out, pairing it with a combo move of the trap card Lineage of Destruction, allowing Red Dragon Archfiend to attack as many times equal to the number of monsters just destroyed that were in defense mode, which here, thanks to Red Dragon Archfiend's abilities, wiped all 3 of Hunter's off the field. Jack then taunts him about losing, saying that it'll at least make for some good television. He celebrates his victory for the crowd as inside, he's now only focused on beating Yusei.
Next, Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds.
Signing back on.
Continuing on into the next episode, we see moments from a meeting that's happening between Chief Armstrong and Rex, where Armstrong doesn't believe Yusei's a signer, especially after all the tests turned up nothing, saying that if Yusei is a signer, then he's a schoolgirl. Well, alright then. Rex believes that perhaps the mark will appear from a built-up push to want to duel Armstrong, with Armstrong now prepared to push Yusei to certain limits that will hopefully make him want to duel. And as for Yusei, he gets brought to a new part of the facility called the Hive, which is meant to house the worst of the worst. It's maximum security basically, and the place that Rex was threatening to send him in the last episode. His new roommate here is Alex, and when he starts introducing himself and talking to Yusei just kind of starts ignoring him and getting lost in his thoughts, all as a way to recap what all recently happened and pondering if he could actually be a signer. Yanagi and Tanner are also there at the Hive as well, confusing both of them and Yusei as to why they would be forced here, but you know, I'm sure we'll find out shortly. Alex continues on talking, with Yusei now tuning in to listening, as Alex was sent here for something small and stupid, with his time in the Hive only meant for a short stay, but has now been there for 4 years, as he then shows Yusei that secretly under his bottom bunk is a tunnel to escape that he has been slowly making with a knife and a spoon. Alex Alex then takes him through it, showing him that it gets them to an outside part of the facility, as he then points up to an opening way above them, saying that that is their ticket to freedom. Obviously, they don't have wings and can't fly up and out of there, but Alex says that tomorrow night he has people coming to help make his escape happen, with one of his friends being a hacker that can stop him from being tracked with the marking for a short period of time so he can get a clear distance away. Alex offers this one-time chance to go with him to Yusei, as after the facility sees how this escape happens, they'll make sure to never let it happen again. Yusei says he's in, but he wants to bring both Tanner and Yanagi with him, to which Alex agrees to, only if they don't hold them back in the process. The next day, Armstrong comes in to start his plan for baiting Yusei into wanting to duel him, and he starts this by harassing Tanner, claiming he had smuggled in this contraband, even if he really didn't, and telling everyone that's in the hive that he clearly had help doing this, and if his accomplice doesn't come forward, then everyone here is getting punished. And he's really just saying this all in a way to rile up the prisoners in a stir. Yusei calls him out for his BS, with Armstrong saying that he can't just let him talk to him like that in front of everyone, so he offers him a chance to duel him in front of everyone, and if Yusei wins, he'll pardon Tanner's fake offense here, with Yusei then standing up to him to save everyone else from unfair punishment, saying that if Armstrong wins, that only he himself will be put in lockdown and take the punishment. And lockdown, you know, the whole solitary confinement, you know, that type of situation. It's not pleasant. The deal for the duel is agreed upon for them to have later on in the evening, but there's just, you know, one problem, and it's that later that night is when they were all supposed to escape. Alex explains to Yusei how Armstrong set him up in a lose-lose situation there, but this is Alex's big planned escape, and offers Yusei to still come with him, you know, just the two of them, but Yusei says he can't leave them behind. He won't ditch his friends for his own benefit. I wonder if there's, I don't know, someone in mind that he's thinking of who may have done that to him and his friends. Man, the name, it's just on the tip of my tongue. What is it? Clack Mattress? No. Hack Gatlas? No. Ah, well, anyway. I wonder what Jack Atlas is up to, huh? Oh, he's just racing around his test track in anger. That's very fun. When it's time for the duel, Armstrong claims that Yusei doesn't have any cards to duel with because, you know, they're illegal to have in here, saying that I guess he wins by default, but then Yusei pulls out a deck of cards much to Armstrong's shock, saying that if he thinks all of them in there are just a bunch of punks who will gladly turn on each other, then he's dead wrong. Earlier in the downtime before Armstrong would come back for this duel, the other inmates in the hive all went to have a talk with Yusei, and as a thank you for showing the type of person that he is, being selfless and standing up to the warden so that all of the prisoners don't have to suffer his wrath for no reason, they all give him cards they have snuck in that all mean something special to them personally, in order for Yusei to build a deck that really embodies the soul of everyone in there, and also in a way for them to feel like they're getting to fight back too. And I thought this place was for the worst of the worst, but these are just a bunch of sweethearts. Armstrong says even if him having these cards now is still breaking the rules, he'll allow it for the sake of the duel they agreed upon, as they both get fitted into duel discs that are chained to the walkway that they're standing on, with Armstrong saying that it's just for a little bit of extra fun for the duel. Every time life points are lost, they will get shocked, or as Armstrong puts it, feel a little tickle. Yusei feels the pain from these shocks very early on into the duel, but that's not the interesting part. No, this duel is interesting because Yusei has to duel with a deck of mismatched cards, making it so strategizing isn't really the easiest thing to do. But, you know, he's the main protagonist, hair and all, so I'm sure he'll figure it all out, heart of the cards and that type of stuff, yada yada. I think it's fun that when he plays out cards, we can see the inmates get excited to see their cards being used. It feels like all of their strength together is helping fight back against their main oppressor. When it comes time for Armstrong to get shocked from losing life points, nothing happens as he's all like, oh no, that's odd. I guess the static generator isn't working and I'm not getting shocked. Whew, I guess it's only you who's going to get shocked, Yusei. Womp womp. With Yusei now on the ropes and in pain from the duel, all of the inmates are cheering him on, wanting to see him stand back up and beat this power-hungry, or just hungry, warden. What? I'm fat too, I can say that. Continuing the duel into the next episode, Yusei doesn't back down as Armstrong is putting him in a tough spot, having a strategy that can easily force Yusei to deck out by sending a bunch of his cards to the graveyard each round. As for Alex, he can't wait any longer and he starts sneaking away, whispering that he's sorry to Yusei, but this is his one shot at freedom that he's been planning on by himself for a long time. But before he fully goes through with it all once he's outside, he feels the emotions about what Yusei said about not leaving friends behind, choosing to turn back back for now and find a way to help out. As far as the duel goes, something doesn't seem quite right, as Yusei and everyone watching can tell Armstrong is up to something with how he's playing, especially when he plays Psychic Cyclone, allowing him to choose and call out one of Yusei's face down cards as a spell or trap card, and if right, Yusei loses it, with him then confidently knowing what the face down card he calls out is, saying that the house always wins. For a brief moment, the power goes out and comes back on again, with Armstrong having the guards worry about checking the generator. Yusei thinks that the power going out was from Alex's escape, noticing that he's gone from his cell. He wishes he could have gone with him, but you know, friendship and all that, themes and such. But we do hear his inner thoughts wishing Alex good luck on his escape, not having any ill will towards Alex getting out of there for himself because he completely understands. But after all that, you'll never guess what card Yusei then plays. It's the Jar of Greed. Well, at least he gets to draw one card from his deck with it, and you know, this just doesn't feel right. Where's the pot, man? I don't want any more comments about it being banned back in 2005, and that's why we go from it being used in every duel in one season of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX to it being nowhere to be found in the next season and beyond. I don't care that it's considered too much of an easy early on advantage card. If you don't have strategies around your opponent getting to draw 2 extra cards, then maybe you're the problem. Free my man Pot of Greed, he did nothing wrong. Unban him now. And in that same sentiment, you're saying Jar of Greed's not being banned? That's okay? Is getting to draw only 1 card instead of 2 really that much of a difference? Blah blah, Jar of Greed is different because it's a trap card, making it slower to use in a duel over an instant use of Pot of Greed. These are all just excuses. In this house, we defend Pot of Greed, and that's that. 1 like on this video is 1 like for Pot of Greed to get the respect it deserves. But whew, sorry about that. You know, I don't know what came over me. I guess I'm very passionate about Pot of Greed. Yusei ends up using Armstrong's strategy against him, having Call of the Haunted bring back Kickman from his graveyard, who then has the ability to equip the spell card Axe of Despair that's currently in his graveyard, bringing Kickman to 2300 attack points. This time when Yusei attacks and does damage to Armstrong's life points, he gets shocked, and he's shocked because perhaps from that random power outage, it turned his setup back on. Guards then enter the room with Alex, explaining that he escaped his cell and fried the mainframe, as Alex then taunts Armstrong about the systems he fried to make it so that for the remainder of the duel, there's nothing Armstrong can do to stop the shocks coming from it. Yusei asks Alex why he came back, and he tells him that he couldn't leave him here. He had to do something to try and help. That's what friends do for each other. They help. They don't abandon. And that's so wholesome. Now, with the stakes of the duel having shocking consequences for Armstrong as well, Yusei adds on some terms in regards to Alex here, saying that if he wins, Armstrong can't punish Alex, but if he loses, Alex will come to lockdown with him. Alex for a second is like, hey man, please win. I didn't agree to all that, essentially, so that's great. Armstrong thinks to himself that he still has the upper hand here, thanks to him having the prison camera seeing everything going on, monitoring the cards Yusei is using and getting that information fed to him through a small speaker that's on his collar, which is why it basically felt like he was cheating earlier on, because he was, and still is. But when Armstrong tries to go after one of Yusei's face down cards, it ends up not being the one that he thought it was, calling out verbally that he thought it was this other card that he technically shouldn't have known about, as Yusei reveals that that card he was looking for was now on the other side of the field face down. Tanner comments that Yusei must have switched the placements of his face down cards when the blackout happened, which technically means he cheated as well. You're not allowed to willy-nilly change the placement of cards once they are set, but whatever. Armstrong's a cheater anyway, I'll allow it. Armstrong then synchro summons Iron Chain Dragon with 2500 attack points, gaining another 1000 from the amount of chain monsters in his graveyard for a total of 3500 now. Yusei warns him that continuing with his strategy here is a bad idea, with Armstrong going, yeah, for you. So after all that Armstrong does, and with Yusei now only having 100 life points left, 1 card left, and nothing out on the field, yeah, things look pretty bad. But Yusei explains what his warning was all about, going on about the strategy Armstrong used in sending most of Yusei's cards to the graveyard, and mentioning that from the start, he knew that he was going to use the security cameras to spy on him, as he then reveals a literal card up his sleeve called Rebel King, which is like, more cheating, but again, in this case, it's fair. Yusei just wanted Armstrong to keep sending his cards to the graveyard so that when he plays Rebel King, as long as there are 30 or more cards in his graveyard, Yusei gets to play a trap card, with his final card left from his deck being the trap card Blasting the Runes, which also relies on having 30 or more cards in the graveyard, as it will then automatically do 3000 points of damage to Armstrong's life points. Armstrong ends up losing in collapses from the shocks, and while there's this happy and cheerful moment from all of the prisoners, Armstrong uses what strength he has left to tell the guards to send stun both Yusei and Alex into lockdown, not holding up his end of the deal. But it's all good though, because Rex shows up, saying that the only person going away is Armstrong, as Rex claims he watched the whole thing and that the facility can't be running effectively if there is no trust between the guards and the prisoners, as he fires him on the spot. In the aftermath, Yusei is going to be let free apparently, as we hear that Tanner, Alex, and Yanagi will also soon be let free as well. They all think that this situation is strange. Why did Rex Goodwin oversee all of this and then grant this leniency and freedom for our group here? But they try not to let the questions overrule the freedom coming their way, but it's just something to keep in the back of their mind in general for now. Either way, Yanagi and Tanner give Yusei a card from them each to hold on to, with Tanner telling him to bring his card to a store named Bootleg. Oh, it's a great name, wonder what they sell there. But once he's there, he needs to order some milk and ask for someone named Blister, and he'll help get his runner out of impound. Back at Sector Security, Rex explains his reasonings for letting Yusei go free to Lazar, claiming that his mark won't appear while being trapped in the facility and having other plans for him now on the outside. With Yusei being able to roam around New Domino City, Rex has assembled an elite task force to keep an eye on him, looking out for any signs of the mark returning. And as Yusei is walking out of the facility, we see that Trudge is keeping an eye on him too, revealing that he now has this nasty face scar from what happened in the pipeline, and says he hopes for Yusei's sake that this task force gets to him before he does, clearly wanting some personal revenge unaffiliated with Rex's plans. And with that, we have finished the facility mini arc. And so far, what an interesting way to start off a whole new generation of Yu-Gi-Oh! We're only 10 episodes in, and so far we've fought the police, smuggled ourselves into a different city, had a heated duel with a double-crossing friend, summoned an ancient dragon spirit on accident, learned about the lore behind it, I'm running out of fingers, and then went to jail for a bit. And in the grand scheme of things, we still don't have a definitive hook to latch onto for our main protagonist like we would see with Jaden in GX or Yugi in the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Series from episode 1. All we truly have are more mysteries and questions than a J.J. Abrams production. And you know what? I kinda love how it's being done. It's quite refreshing. Just like some gamer subs, use code for— I'm sorry. I had to. I'm sorry. You don't need to sell me on Yusei being the next king of games or having a pharaoh inside of him that's dueling for him or setting the place at a dueling school. You just need to give me Yusei aura farming every scene that he's in and then give him a bike, and you know what? I'm here for the ride. No pun intended. Scratch that, pun intended. All we know about his motives in the series is that he wanted to get his card back from somebody that he used to know, shout out Goatye, and then figure out how to get to a better life for him and his friends. Now, there is some ancient stuff going on that may or may not involve him as the story goes on, but for the most part, the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Series and GX had a starting point with goals that we knew the characters were heading towards specifically. So it's nice kinda not knowing fully where Yusei's story or his whole journey is going to go. I think it's interesting and a nice change of pace. And also, heck, we still haven't even established other major supporting characters. I see some of them there in the intro. You can't hide them away forever.
Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D's will sign back on after these messages. Signing back on.
Yusei explores the city while being followed by the elite task force, as he's heading to the store Tanner told him about in order to get his runner back. Now, he said store, but this is clearly like a smaller back alley bar more than anything. But he enters in, orders some milk, slams down the card Tanner gave him, slams down the glass of milk as well, and asks for Blister. The bartender, or milk tender, notices the guys following Yusei, telling him to watch his back and that Blister will come and find him. Just as quickly as he entered the establishment, he's on his way out, as Blister then comes from above, riding his bike from the roofs to the street, grabbing Yusei for a lift, as the guys following Yusei try and run after him, as to not let him get out of their sights. And for real, if these guys are the members of this elite task force, they are the worst and most obvious tailing agents I've ever seen. Come on, Rex, you could have invested in better men here. To make their escape for now, Blister is shining a special light onto Yusei's marking, allowing it to jam the tracking system on him so that they can get away to Blister's hideout, which is also equipped with more jamming technology for them to lay low. While Blister starts helping Yusei with a plan to sneak into the impound area and get his runner back, Yusei snoops around this guy's place, seeing pictures of him holding up a trophy with another person who's holding up a card as well as next to the image is that same card, only now it's severely damaged and barely held together. Blister doesn't want Yusei touching that stuff, but says that he was never in the big leagues, but him and his partner used to duel in the semi-pro league for a bit, but that was a long time ago, holding back any information about what really happened, but from context clues, it can't be something happy. As they're getting everything prepared for Yusei, Trudge ends up spying on them from a distance, proving to be a better tracker than the elite task force, so hey, he at least has that going for him, I guess. We see a flashback of him speaking with his captain after the pipeline incident, and while he is reminded of no third chances and gets demoted for what he oversees, Trudge won't have this, thinking that the decision to let Yusei free on the streets of New Domino City is an outrage, and wants to take matters into his own hands, storming out of the building and going off to find him. The next day, when Blister gives Yusei everything he needs, he finds out that Yusei is going through all of this at the end of the day for his friends back in the satellite. Blister thinks that's insane, and when looking at the old picture of him and his friend, he opens up a bit, telling Yusei that his friend was named Arrow. He's vague about what truly happened, saying that you make friends, you lose friends, and that's how it goes. He essentially tells Yusei to look out for himself because the only thing a friend is good for is finding the best way to let you down. Getting this jarring transition as he goes from this somber tone to this intense storytelling voice, as we get a flashback to him losing control of his runner, which we see as like the type of motorcycles that have a sidecar on it. The part connecting them is broken, and with no time to think before a head-on crash, Blister swerves to save himself as he cries out for Arrow, who has the head-on collision with the building, resulting in him having an 8-month recovery. Afterwards, he quit dueling and never reached out to Blister again, aside from sending that card in the mail to Blister in the rough state that it's in. He says he doesn't blame his friend for choosing this, saying if he were him, he would have done the same, with Blister really meaning that he was the bad friend the whole time and doesn't deserve his old friend's forgiveness. Yusei leaves, but tells Blister to not be too hard on himself, and when walking away, Yusei is thinking to himself, man, that guy's so wrong. Friends are the most important thing a person can have. Without them, you're nothing. Which, hey man, I don't know if I fully agree with the end of that sentiment. Like, yeah, friends are important, they're great to have, but you gotta have some self-worth, man, come on. For the runner rescue heist, we see Yusei, dressed up in disguise to enter in as an employee, hides within the special security building after hours when the place shuts down. He sneaks into the room his runner should be located in, and this is essentially a giant warehouse full of confiscated things that are now all within crates, and man, what's with all the Indiana Jones references or theming here? Maybe it's nothing, maybe I'm just seeing things, but I feel like this has a lot of parallels to those movies. Once Yusei finds the crate with the runner, Trudge, who had been tailing him since he left the hideout, surprises him along with some sector security goons as they try to capture and stop him. But Yusei is able to get in the crate, get on his runner, and make a break for it with Trudge in hot pursuit. Trudge traps him in another turbo duel, with Yusei using the duel as a way to buy time in order to figure out how to escape from the building and get away from all this. Trudge really wants to know why Rex is so interested in Yusei. Why was he let go and set free into the streets? You know, he just can't sleep at night without knowing. And now with the whole building going into lockdown and the only thing that he can do is either be caught by Trudge or continue speeding towards a dead-end wall, Blister ends up reaching out to Yusei, telling him to keep speeding towards it. I know that Blister's trying to do the whole self-redemption thing, but that's a whole lot of trust to give someone that you had to drink a glass of milk to meet. Continuing from rushing towards the dead end, Blister ends up opening the elevator shaft door for him as both Yusei and Trudge head straight down the whole thing while they're still dueling, and I'm not gonna lie, this was pretty freaking cool. It's so nonsensical, but so is the base concept of dueling while riding a motorcycle, so whatever, let's just have some fun. Blister catches up to them on the ground floor, pushing Trudge out of the way for now while he tells Yusei he's only there so that this job he was hired to help pull off doesn't go wrong and end up ruining his reputation. But I know he really just felt some type of way about all the friendship stuff, and specifically we have proof of this thanks to the Japanese version, where he admits to Yusei that the bonds he has with his friends have him curious as to what friendship is really all about. Here he says to Yusei to not go thinking this makes them friends, claiming he already ruined one friendship as Yusei asks to hear more about Arrow, as we then get into another flashback to Blister and Arrow with them dueling together in a tag team turbo duel semi-league match. Yeah, tag teams are still a thing. We have video games to sell, people, hello! We see how they were winning, leading to the moment that picture with them with the trophy was taken, as he then says that Arrow was the real reason they were winning, calling him a great competitor and an even greater friend. But the semi-pro league and doing tag team duels doesn't bring in the real money, and when a rep from Kaiba Corp came around to Blister, he's convinced he wants to go solo, especially when offered every opportunity that he could have ever wanted. He says that he could finally be up there amongst the legends, name-dropping Atlas, Phoenix, and Truesdale, with the last two being important since they refer to the characters of Aster Phoenix and either or both Cyrus and Zane Truesdale, characters from Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, giving us some world building to the series having a tighter connection to the ones that came before it in some way, so that's pretty sick. When we see Blister and Arrow tag team turbo dueling again, we see them arguing about each other's choices, with Blister feeling like he's being held back and wants out of this life where he's barely scraping by to pay bills with these races, and has a chance to go beyond his own, while Arrow is definitely more timid in expressing his emotions, claiming that in the end, this friendship is all he's got, with Blister replying that I guess you got nothing then. But from this distraction, they get surprised in the duel, which is what led to them flying flying off the course and straight towards the building accident that we saw in the other flashback. Back in the present, he talks more about how bad of a friend he was and all that had happened, telling Yusei that he bets his friends only hang out with him because they want something from him in return. Yusei says that Blister has it all wrong and that his friends are good people, with Blister still then warning him to watch out for himself. Yusei explains that Blister is too angry with himself to see the truth, saying that his friend never wanted to hurt him with the choices he made, continuing on to say that I guess sometimes friends do stupid things, huh? Throwing some introspection for Blister to think about for himself and how he's handled things. Trudge catches back up for the duel to continue and just like, how big is this building? Is it like the airport runway from Fast and Furious 6? At one point when Trudge is putting Yusei in a bad position in the duel, Yusei sets up some more defenses, and when he brings out Healing Wave Generator, he says it's time to help generate a little more D for himself. Well, alright then, that's certainly a way to put it. Blister really is counting on Yusei to win for the sake of his reputation not being messed up, as Yusei claims that he's going to win, and it will all be thanks to his friendship with Blister. And he's all like, no man, you don't want me as a friend, I'm a bad friend, boo-hoo, poor me, I suck. Yusei then brings up the card that Arrow sent to Blister, saying that it wasn't sent to him to symbolize their friendship being over, but as a symbol of their friendship surviving through all the awful stuff that happened. He explains that Arrow probably blames himself for things going the way they did, just like Blister does. It was never about him not wanting Blister to go to the Pro League, it was that he didn't want him to go alone. So he gave Blister the only thing that mattered, the card that fused their friendship together. Without his best friend, Arrow didn't care about dueling anymore. But if Blister ever needed help, he says Arrow probably would have been there without a second thought. But hey, wouldn't it be funny if everything Yusei was saying was all some BS, and we see Blister going to see Arrow, and Arrow's all like, what are you doing here? I hate you, that card means nothing, and I never want to see you again. Okay, well, it wouldn't be funny, but you know, like a little bit funny, maybe, kinda, not really, I'm sorry. Yusei calls Blister his friend now too, and continues on the duel, as he tunes together his Turbo Synchron with Quillbald Hedgehog, Speed Warrior, and Sonic Chick in order to synchro summon Turbo Warrior with 2500 attack points, as he then uses its effect to cut the attack points in half from Trudge's Goyo Guardian. Afterwards, he plays the trap card Synchro Strike, giving 500 attack points for every card used in the synchro summoning process here to Turbo Warrior, with him now having 4500 attack points. Trudge doesn't want to lose again, attempting to cheat in order to bring Yusei in, trying to now crash into him, but Blister jumps in the way, fighting back against Trudge. Blister tells Yusei to attack now and not to worry about what happens, saying that this is what friends are for, right? After Yusei does so and wins, Trudge's runner ends up taking down Blister's as well. Blister yells to Yusei to keep going and to just make it out of there as he remains fallen for now. Yusei then speeds through a bunch of guards with shock batons, zapping him as he feels every bit of the pain but keeps going. We then cut to two new characters, with one of them named Luna looking shocked and running outside after hearing a noise, and that outside seems like it's still inside, and I don't know, this futuristic city kind of works weird. Some things are inside but they're outside, but outside while inside. But now with both these characters outside, they see a crashed Yusei, who I guess at least made it through all the guards but is now clearly hurt and left vulnerable here, as these two kids question who he is and what to do. But hey, look, we're finally getting some characters that we've been seeing in the intro, so that's neat. The two people who find him are Leo and Luna, twins who end up rescuing him and waiting for him to wake up, as they talk about the markings on his face, claiming that their dad said that means they're criminals, but they think that's cool. Okay, well, Leo thinks that's cool. Then they talk about speaking with the card spirits to really understand the type of person this guy is, placing their hand on his deck, as it tells them that he is a good person, but he's also very sad. Aw, poor Yusei. Once he wakes up, these two fill him in on who they are and how they found him, but Yusei seems to have a case of amnesia, saying he doesn't know who he is. The twins show him they are in their apartment in a place called the Tops, so more giant living arrangements on the tops of skyscrapers, very fun. Trudge tries entering into the Tops knowing that's where Yusei went, but it is heavily protected for elite status individuals to live at, so in order for him to enter in, he has to submit all these specific warrant requests and do a whole bunch of stuff, and he's not going to be able to do that. And we see Trudge then mad and going on about how the even richer and wealthier members of New Domino City and all that encompass that higher society feel to him, bringing in more about classism and showing that much like how Trudge would look at those from the satellite, other people can view him the same way. While we are shown New Domino City at first looking like a paradise for the chosen and elite people, or whatever Rex was going on about, the longer we spend time here, the more we see that there are rougher areas, filled with those who aren't as wealthy and are just getting by however they can, that, and even saying that, are seen above those who are from the satellite. In the meantime of Yusei holding up in the building, Trudge is setting up a perimeter of sector security officers all around the surrounding areas of this luxury building, waiting for any chance they can to capture Yusei if or when he leaves. We see that Blister is okay and wasn't captured by Trudge, as he is currently monitoring the situation and hoping that Yusei can figure a way out of all this. As the twins try to help Yusei remember who he is, he sees a shrine of Jack Atlas with Leo saying that he's his favorite and wants to be just like him when he's older. They tell Yusei that he must be a turbo duelist as well, thanks to bringing in his duel runner, with Leo thinking that Yusei could be this big-time duelist, trying to jog his memory by showing him an invitation to this upcoming Fortune Cup event. Luna got the invite, but Leo says she's too scared to enter, so he's going to pretend to be her to enter it. Yusei tries to leave because he doesn't want to cause them any trouble, but Leo has one idea left to help him remember, challenging him to a duel. Based on how Leo is talking, Yusei starts picturing Rally, seeing similarities between them, but this also means that he's starting to get parts of his memory back. So he agrees to the duel, and as they prepare for it, Leo and Luna explain that their parents are always gone away on important business trips, where Luna does feel a type of way about it, while Leo thinks it's the coolest thing ever not having them around. And he's really into dueling, narrating everything done in excitement as if the announcer is hyping him up. It reminds me of when I was a kid and how silly my friends and I would be when dueling. And as the duel goes on, it continues to spark some memories for Yusei to remember a bit about who he is. Yusei brings out the Synchro Monster Nitro Warrior with 2800 attack points, and we see him playing into the whole fun of how Leo is pretending there's a crowd and everything, enjoying the whole spirit of dueling, but when Yusei wins, Leo starts crying. Yusei says he apparently has his memory back and all is good now, telling him thank you for a fun duel that helped him, and in return to also cheer him up, he offers him some tips and pointers to grow as a duelist. When they want to know about his real identity though, he wants to be vague, not wanting them to get in trouble for associating with him or helping him. But still, they at least offer him to spend the night, so that's pretty nice. In the meantime, we see Rex and Lazar talking about the invitations going out to turbo duelists for the Fortune Cup, with one not being sent out, that being Yusei's, as Lazar informs him that Trudge is acting on his own and going after Yusei, making it impossible for Yusei to have gotten this invite. As the night goes on and the twins fall asleep, Yusei has to duel and dash on them for their own good, and you know what? He's really good with kids. Dude would make a great dad one day, or heck, just a babysitter in general at the very least. And I know I'm saying that right after he's just leaving them, but I mean in context to how he spoke with them, humored their curiosity about dueling, and even teaching them a thing or two, he's just a genuinely good dude. But as he's leaving, Trudge was waiting for him the whole time, jumping out to stop him from getting away, but before they could get into another turbo duel, Lazar shows up, informing Trudge that this is not what he's supposed to be doing, shutting everything he says up, and then hands Yusei an invitation to the Fortune Cup, and along with it, a photo of his friends back in the satellite, with Lazar warning him that if he refuses to participate, then his friends will pay the price for everything he did to obtain his duel runner back. Yusei really can't catch a break, huh? I guess that's how it is when you live life in the fast lane. No, I'm sorry. That was so cringe. I'm sorry. From there, Blister comes around and helps get Yusei a small storage unit to have as a place to live and store his stuff within the city. Yusei shows Blister why he has to enter the Fortune Cup, and from this, says that he can help Yusei out, mentioning that during that going on, he'll go and check on his friends to make sure that they're okay, as he has his own ways of getting between the two cities. We see that with Leo and Luna, Yusei had freshly tuned up their duel discs as another thank you for all their help, which is really nice. And thanks to Leo's friend who calls, we learn of a duelist going by the name of the Black Rose being around the area, as she's treated like this urban legend and they're dying to see her in person. Later, when Yanagi and Tanner are let out of the facility, they come over to where Yusei is living, and while he's working on his runner, we hear that he's blasting the theme song of the series, and I love that it's a bit that we see in the franchise in general now. Tanner, thanks to his freedom now, is yearning to ride a runner again, challenging Yusei to a friendly duel where if he wins, he'll get to test drive the runner and bring it back in pristine condition. But right before the duel starts, Jack Atlas rolls up to the middle of it. Tanner makes a comment about it being a long time since he's seen him, showing that they've had a past, and asking what's up, as Jack just goes, "My career, thank you." And man, that was just a pretty good response. I'm not gonna lie, he cooked you, Tanner. As for Jack, after he learned that Yusei is going to be in the Fortune Cup, he sees this as a chance to redeem himself. So now, as to why he's really here, is that he offers Yusei a deal, trying to give him back his Stardust Dragon now, and if he ends up beating Jack in the Fortune Cup, then he can keep that card again, but if Jack wins, he gets to keep it, and then they are squared, and that's that. But Yusei brings brings up what happens to his friends then, as Jack then has no idea about what Yusei's talking about, clearly not being in the know. He gives Yusei the card and says Yusei will probably need it then, making it clear that anything involving his friends has nothing to do with him. Rex has his own agenda, as he then leaves saying he'll see him at the Fortune Cup and he wants him to make sure he's bringing his A game. Unagi's all excited over the interaction and from the dragon cards Yusei and Jack each have, claiming them both to be signers, as Yusei still has no clue what any of that even really means. He didn't get the proper full presentation from Rex like Jack did. It probably would be helpful. As Jack is driving away, he is thinking to himself that this is more than just a card game or about friendships or anything like that. This is all about saving the world, and he's going to make sure that happens. Like, he wants to be the sole person directly saving it seems. Rex is doing some freaky celestial connection stuff, feeling the power of the Crimson Star grow as he sends out his unit of what I think look like rare hunter wannabes, but hey, that's just me, for them to all go out and stir up those who may bear the mark of the dragon before the tournament. He wants them to push them to their limits, test their true skills, and get their emotions riled up, whatever it takes, all in the efforts of restoring the true power of the Crimson Dragon so its power shall rule the world. Might I point out that we do get to see this other character dueling briefly named Jesse Wheeler, who is called out to be the cousin of Joey Wheeler, which is funny because it's the same voice actor, so my goat is still here and we love to see that. But at the spot, Leo and his friend come around looking for the Black Rose duelist, hearing rumors about her being here, but Leo gets excited over Yusei being there as well, with Yusei being more worried about Leo and his friend being here, as this is more of a back alley dueling scene not really meant for little kids. But then all of a sudden, Yusei's arm starts to hurt again just like it did with the Crimson Dragon coming out, as everyone starts running away, as then all these thorns start spiking into the walls around them, and the silhouette of a new dragon emerges. Yusei's marking is on full display now, with Leo seeing this and thinking of a certain marking similar to it. Whatever that dragon was, it disappears, but the duelist known as the Black Rose is there now, with her identity hidden, but at least proving that she's a real person and not some myth like most claim her to be. She calls out to Yusei, noticing he has a mark on his arm, claiming that she has one also, but rather than pursuing this, she tells Yusei to stay away from her and vanishes from the area. Yusei's marking also goes away as he claims that he needs to find her and start getting some real answers. During all of this, Lazar is watching from above, claiming Yusei will get some of those answers soon enough. The Black Rose duelist ends up hiding in some alleyway that night, trying to figure out why Yusei had a marking as well, not knowing who he is or anything about him. But now it's the next day, and it's time for the Fortune Cup to start. Lazar informs Rex that the Black Rose has gotten the invitation and will be here as Rex's plan is all coming together.
Next, Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds.
Signing back on.
Ah, finally, a tournament arc. Sort of. Getting ready for the Fortune Cup to start, Leo and Luna switch places, and Leo disguises himself as her. Tanner is worried about something being fishy about this whole tournament, but hey, just like Billy Joel once said, you may be wrong, but you may be right. Jack does this big over-the-top entrance to kick off the whole tournament, where the winner of the 8 duelists invited will get the chance to face off against Jack. Everyone then gets introduced, and the crowd starts getting confused when they see Usay and seeing his criminal markings on his face, finding it weird that a satellite is here, calling him a lowlife and claiming he probably stole someone else's invitation. One of the duelists up there, named Greiger, grabs the mic, making a call out to all the judgmental people in the audience, saying that where he comes from, you judge a guy on his spirit, as he then points at Yusei to say that this city may have branded Yusei as a no-good, but when he looks at him, all he sees is a duelist, and being a duelist himself, that means he has to respect him until he gives him a reason to not, because a duelist doesn't judge other duelists based on where they come from, or who their parents are, or how much money they have. That isn't what really matters. From this speech, Rex starts clapping, initiating the host and the audience to clap to the speech given. And you know what? That was pretty cool this dude to do. We love to see it. Maybe this guy will be pretty cool in general. Rex then speaks about in their world, social status and wealth draw a line between ourselves and our fellow man. But he had a vision of a tournament that for a moment would remove that line. A tournament that is separate from the competition of life, where the haves and have-nots could meet each other on a level playing field and prove themselves to each other and to the world. From there, we get all of the matches for the first round all randomized to see who is going against one another, as Leo will be going first and he is excited to be going up against Greiger, with this being a regular duel and not a turbo duel. We see that behind the scenes, Rex speaks with the professor again as he creates a device that can detect energy, called the detector, that is connected to all these special sensors placed around the stadium. As for the duel, it starts off really feeling like a good chance for Leo to ask questions and learn how to truly hold his own in a duel, but there is something more going on at play here, as it seems that Greiger is a plant by guy Rex, as he thinks to himself about testing the kid into seeing if they are who Rex thinks they are. So you know what? I take back what I said. This guy's not cool, and that speech was probably manufactured for him to say. This is a bigger disappointment than Netflix handling the release of Steel Ball Run. Seemingly, the tournament is filled with potential signers, and this is all set up to expose them as such and bring their energy together. But for the general public and for the potential signers themselves, they have no clue. This is just a tournament to them. I guess Tanner was right. As we see the professor trying to read Luna's readings to see if she is a signer, they're actually testing Leo, who is clearly fine while dueling, as we then see Luna watching the duel happen in the stands, and she's starting to feel some pain from whatever Zigzix is doing. Yusei is noticing that Leo isn't adapting to the duel and working on new strategies. Rather, he's falling into his comfortable zone of playing what he knows, which for a duel like this in a tournament at this level won't be good. Then this guy starts looking like this evil and scary shadow to Leo, and this is not brought up again in this episode. Maybe only Leo's seeing something, or maybe this guy's really doing this, who knows? The professor speaks to Lazar about there being no trace of this duelist being a signer, but instead, there is a faint signal coming from the stands and not from within the duel. Luna starts getting really weak from whatever Zigzix is doing, as the professor is then able to pinpoint exactly where she is in the stands. But as far as the duel goes, Greiger ends up defeating Leo, so that stinks for him, poor kid. Afterwards, when Greiger speaks with Lazar, it's clear that he knew Luna was actually a boy in disguise, as Lazar shows off a document that reveals Luna having a twin brother named Leo, and that they obviously switched places with Luna being in the crowd watching instead of dueling. With this information in general, Rex is prepared to find a way to push Luna to her limits to prove she's a signer. After Leo's match, Yusei tells him that the duel isn't a loss if you learn something from it. And while Leo isn't really feeling like he did learn anything aside from how to lose, things get interrupted as this other duelist barges her way through, locking eyes with Yusei for a second as she continues on to go and do her match. Her name is Akisa Azinski, and her opponent will be this dude dressed like a wannabe Blackluster soldier or something named Sir Ransborg, and he's another inside agent for Rex. We also then hear Rex mention that she is the Black Rose duelist, and the rumors go that her cards wield a power so real that they have been known to come to life. Sir Ransborg is tasked with pushing her to her limits to see if she truly does have the mark of the dragon, which makes sense. That's all of Rex's underlings' tasks. When Akisa enters the arena, Leo can't help but feel like he's seen her before. Well, you did just a moment ago back in the hallway. Hey man, I make the jokes around here. Don't be rude. Anyway, Luna can feel something stronger, as if Akisa's deck is crying out in pain, which will play into Luna's card spirit stuff that we saw when we first met her, as she was checking Yusei's deck. Now, for the duel, it is funny to see how Sir whatever his name is here can't stop yapping, speaking in that Shakespearean tongue, while Akisa isn't saying a word and not flinching at whatever he's doing to drain her life points from the jump. When she gets a chance to shine in the duel, she instantly synchro summons Black Rose Dragon, the monster we saw the silhouette of earlier, and from this, Yusei can feel pain in his arm once more, and all of the crowd can feel an intense wind, playing into her cards feeling real when she brings them out. The crowd all then realize that she is the Black Rose duelist, which shocks them all, and they aren't the biggest fans of hers, it seems. Throughout the match and living up to her reputation, her cards end up actually hurting her opponent, as we first see him getting a scratch on his face from one of her moves. He then calls her a witch, and for that she responds, looking angry, and saying, "Be careful who you call a witch." At one point though, it looked as if the duel was as good as over, with Akisa down to only 50 life points left, but she's still not flinching one bit. She's cool, calm, and collective. Through all her strategies and using the effects of her Black Rose Dragon and following it, her Rose Garden and Rose tokens, she ends up bringing back her Black Rose Dragon and then removing a plant-type monster from play, which, thanks to the BRD, that's short for Black Rose Dragon by the by, its ability makes the attack points of the monster it's facing go down to 0. So now with no strategy left, the dude playing dress up drops his fake accent and is begging for mercy, but of course, he won't get that. And from the attack, not only does he lose, but the power of it can be felt in the arena in general. The audience boos her and claims that her monsters are real, as we also see that her opponent is now passed out and hurt from the attack. Watching the duel go down the entire time is some guy wearing a trench coat who's been standing off to the side in the shadows, as he wants Akisa to show the world what she's made of, and after she wins, he alludes to her real fight still yet to come. Yusei can feel something between them as he holds his arm, and for whatever reason he knew that she would win, but doesn't know what is connecting them. We also see Jack is holding his arm as well, so maybe he feels it too, but Zigzix tells Rex that they didn't trace any sign of her being a signer from anything that happened within the duel, which is odd. But my arm is hurting as well. Oh, are these the marks of the dragon? Oh wait, no. These are just my tattoos. Why would I do this to myself? I feel like a coloring book. Now it's time for Yusei's first duel, as he's going up against someone named Shira that Tanner informs Yusei about. Apparently, he once was going by the name Shadow Reaper, and he doesn't like to play nice. And we get this aura around him built up for him to be this scary, menacing figure that Yusei may have a hard time dealing with. Yusei notes that he is wanting to wait on using his Stardust Dragon until he is facing Jack to make him wish he never gave him back that card. So however this duel goes, Stardust Dragon is not going to be something he uses to help him out, even if the situation may call for it. And for Yusei's duel, it will be a turbo duel, as the crowd is hyped to see that finally. I do like that there are a mix of both regular old school duels and turbo duels to keep the show visually fresh, but it also makes sense sometimes, like, yeah, of course Leo or Luna aren't going to be on motorcycles, they're like 11 or something. Once the duel starts, it's a big surprise because Yusei isn't going up against the big bad Shira, as it ends up being Hunter Pace to everyone's surprise, as before this, he ended up breaking into the arena, wanting to crash the tournament so he can take on Jack once more, but then he overhears the secret of Yusei basically defeating Jack, which Lazar shouldn't just be out there in the open speaking so loudly about this, even if it is to Shira to inform him about what's going on and what the plans are. This all then makes you question how this could happen when they were building up Shira as this big scary dude who can't be messed with. But as Lazar tells Rex that they have a problem, we cut to Shira, who is now beat up with cards all around him, while he's laying on the floor in his underwear and saying, "Hey, he just snuck up behind me." So yeah, that's a fun way to break the illusion of who he was. That definitely just makes him an aura farmer who can't frame Mog without his cloak. What in the world did I just say? Why did I write that? Anyway, I guess in general now, because of the circumstances, they'll let it ride as the crowd doesn't seem to care. They just want a good show, and this is good television. While Hunter is doing everything he can to take down Yusei, wanting to get through to him to get to Jack, Yusei is able to keep up with as much speed as he possibly can, but Hunter is pushing his speed as much as possible, blazing faster and faster, while saying that it's not what you do, it's how fast you do it, hitting the max amount of speed counters being at a total of 12 now. He ends up pulling and playing the spell card, the End of Storm, shocking both Usay and Jack, as that was the card Jack tried playing in his duel with Usay before the Crimson Dragon emerged. Hunter hints to Usay that he knows about him and Jack's little duel, and this spell card then wipes the field of their monsters and causes them 300 points of damage per each monster they had. Hunter then gets out his powerful Speed King Skull Flame with 3,000 attack points, and now with Usay down to only 400 life points and not in a great position, Rex is eagerly awaiting for him to show signs of him having a mark, but it seems like nothing is making that happen so far. Usay believes in his cards, not letting any Speed Kings scare him off the road, and eventually brings out his Synchro monster, Nitro Warrior. Right as Hunter is about to lap him in the arena, he basically pulls a Heart of the Cards moment, drawing the speed spell Gap Storm, saying it's just what he needed as it can destroy every spell and trap card on the field thanks to the difference in their speed counters, and on top of this, Nitro Warrior gains 1,000 attack points thanks to its abilities from Usay activating a spell card, bringing it to 3,800 attack points, and thus being able to win the duel completely from there. While Hunter played a game of speed, Usay played a game of slowing down in order to counter and eventually control the direction the duel was heading in. We see that from this duel, it wasn't able to bring forward Usay's mark, disappointing Rex as Jack stands up to Rex a little bit, wanting to know the truth about this tournament and what it's really all about, because he knows that this isn't about whoever wins getting the chance to face him in the end. He wants to know why Rex needs Usay, as he replies that he'll find out in due time. As these duels go on, we get to see how Jack starts reacting to Rex and all the true stuff that's really going on around here. And you can't help but root for Jack to figure out the real game that Rex is playing and, you know, maybe become like a good guy. Because he's not evil, he's just a prick, you know, wearing a mask to disguise how he really feels. Some say that's what my beanie is to me. Interpret that however you want. I know there is a lot more to Jack as a character, and I love the duality of seeing his perspective of the story, as we also see it through Yusei's perspective. Continuing on, we start things off in the next episode with Lazar going to meet with one of the duelists named Frank, who purposefully lost in the first round of matches and is needed to use his apparent hypnotic powers to tap into the mind of a possible signer, setting things up for Frank to go and test Luna. The announcer grabs the mic and does, you know, his job of announcing things to say that Rex Goodwin has made a special losers bracket, and if you've lost, you may be able to duel again, and the winner will get back into the tournament, but it will only be for 2 of the people who have lost selected randomly, as it's, surprise, Professor Frank and Luna, and this time, there is no Leo being in disguise. It's her that needs to duel now. At first, Luna doesn't really want to duel based on her saying that things get weird every time that she does, with Leo mentioning that this pertains to her dual spirit stuff going on, and in the spirit of proving Leo wrong about these spirits being real, since he doesn't fully believe in them and makes fun of her for it, she decides to go ahead and duel. When Rex is explaining that Luna might be a signer to Jack, they check in with Zizix, who is caught on call singing the intro theme, and again, I love it. I hope they keep this bit running forever. Rex also then brings up some more lore about Luna, explaining that 8 years ago she was admitted to a special hospital, saying that she can hear dual spirits' voices. Rex also goes into how Luna was dueling and beating the greatest professionals at the age of 3, but then one day collapsed and fell into an unexplainable coma. Leo was the only one who believed she'd awake from it, and a month after it happened, she woke up. What makes it more interesting is that she claims the whole time that she was in this coma that she wasn't asleep, but instead in the dual monster's spirit world. Rex and Lazar speak about this being potentially real because she suddenly had this knowledge that related back to the Crimson Star. Stuff she couldn't have ever been privy to, and beyond that, new information that even they didn't know. As the days, months, and years passed after waking from the coma, her memory of this spirit world vanished to a point where she claims she can't remember anything about it. So in this duel, it is partly about getting her back into remembering that world at whatever cost they can, and doing so with Frank and his hypnotic abilities or whatever. You know what, I just don't trust him. Frank is just too plain of a character design here for me to, trust him. Like, his hair isn't crazy and spiky enough to be considered a protagonist or even a main evil villain, so he's either just gonna be boring or someone you just want to keep away from you at all costs. As the duel is about to get started, we hear a familiar cry that you could assume is the spirit of Karibo, like we really got to know in GX with Winged Karibo, but instead she mentions the name Karibon, which is this little fuzzball here. And man, how many Karibo variants are there? And you know what, and I mean when I say this, I want to see a list of every Karibo variant in the comments. In the duel, this Frank guy uses his PhD in psychiatric skills to try and mess with Luna, which we can see from the first monster he plays basically being a Rorschach test, making it so it's hard for her to focus as he asks her what does it remind her of, trying to seek out her time in the dual monster spirit world, slowly hypnotizing her. After he visually freaks her out, he claims to believe her about her time in that world, claiming to want to help her get back to that place, and even if she is scared, she must go and face these fears. Throughout the duel, he essentially gets Luna to feel like she is back in the spirit world while she begins to start fully zoning out, picturing herself really being in this other world while her body is still in the human world. At the same time, something is off with Leo as he starts looking zoned out in the same ways that Luna is. Frank keeps trying to get Luna to remember stuff about the Crimson Dragon, but now her body in the real world is still playing the game in a way that is not in Frank's control, as he asks who could possibly be giving her the strength to do all this, as they allude to it maybe having something to do with her brother Leo, as maybe there is a deeper and more spiritual connection between the two, or maybe it's from something else we get introduced to. As in the spirit world that we're in, Luna ends up hearing a voice calling out to her to say that she has returned and is here to fulfill her promise, with Luna not knowing what that promise is. The voice goes on to explain that her promise is to protect the realm of the dual spirits from the forces of evil. Ah, just like that one show. What was the name of that one again?
Marco versus the forces of evil.
Ah, that's right. Hey, wait a second.
Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D's will sign back on after these messages. Signing back on.
Entering back in on things, Frank is trying his best to have Luna guide him through the spirit world with what she is seeing and what she knows, as Yusei is worried about her and claims he needs to go do something about it.
What do we do about it?
Well, I certainly hope he does more than just go to the dueling stage and, just stand there. That would be anticlimactic. While in this spirit world, the voice speaks to Luna about an evil force trying to break their way into this world and corrupt and twist it, hoping to use the power within it for malicious purposes, like most evil forces. The voice ends up bringing Luna to a rock with a dragon trapped in it, where the voice explains that they have been waiting for her to return, and whoever this voice has been is clearly the one trapped within the rock. This sparks the memory of who this is for Luna as she calls out the name of Ancient Fairy Dragon. The voice says it's time to fulfill her promise, or her brother's spirit may be lost here forever, whatever that means, as she asks about where he is, with this dragon saying that he's currently lost between this world and the human world. The dragon then shows her a flashback of when she was last here, and even back then, this dragon also warned her about some evil force trying to break their way into this world, as the dragon asked Luna to stay there, as she'll be the only way to stop the evil forces, explaining that she acts as this bridge between both worlds. The dragon promises that she'll no longer be lonely, with Luna saying that she never gets to see her parents or even go to a school with other kids, and as far as her own brother Leo, she claims he only really seems to care about his own interests and what he wants, which leads her to making the promise in the first place so that she won't have to feel lonely anymore. During all of this, Yusei pulls pulls up to the field as both Luna and Frank have their eyes glossed over, making it seem like both of them are now in a trance at the moment, as he also notices that she has a mark just like his. So of course Rex and his crew are happy over this because the data they have proves she's a signer. Wow, they finally got some data, good for them, I guess. It's probably not good for everyone else though. Back in the spirit world, Leo's voice can start to be heard, calling out for her as his body in the human world completely passes out. Luna explains to the dragon that back then she heard her brother's voice and got scared of being the sole person to protect this world, running away and eventually getting out of the coma as she tried on purpose to forget about this place in order to not feel the pain from her choice to leave and what that would mean for all of them there, which is kind of why she has pushed aside dueling even if she was great at it because of the trauma that it brings up. But in the spirit world now, Frank appears, being in shock that his powers worked to get himself here through Luna as he starts spreading his darkness into the world and corrupting it. In this moment, Luna calls out for Leo, and he starts calling back out to her, and eventually he appears in her reflection within a puddle, understanding the promise she made, and says that he'll protect her so that she can protect them, as we see the world around her falling apart. Again, whatever any of this means, Leo's connected to all of this somehow and is doing something to protect her, but we just don't truly know what. It's probably like a twin thing or something. And within the spirit world, Luna gets the courage to stand up to Frank and protect this place as they both continue their duel, just, in the spirit world now. We see that Frank has had his own plans of wanting to come here, calling Rex and his Iliaster group a bunch of fools, as he wants this whole world all to himself so it can crumble before him because, what the heck, why not? He just wants this for whatever reason, okay? He says he's going to rebuild it in his image however he sees fit. He's just evil for the love of the game, it seems. See, I said from the start, you can't trust this dude. Doesn't matter if you're a good guy or a bad guy. He's just Frank and he sucks. Luna ends up finding a way to get out of Frank's strategies in the duel, but at one point in the spirit world, Ancient Fairy Dragon breaks free from the stone, grabbing Frank in its hand as Luna then tells it not to hurt him. Doing that would make them no better than he is. Instead, Luna then opts to finish the duel as a solution to stop all of this, and from her move, she ends the duel in a draw, which brings them back to the human world as the Ancient Fairy Dragon tells Luna that she must now stop the person who truly sealed them away. Yusei, after just standing there and doing nothing to help, ends up carrying Luna from the dueling stage since she passed out. They announce no competitor in the match will move on and come back into the tournament, but hey, at least Leo and Luna both wake back up, with Luna eventually getting enough energy to walk on her own, as she promises the spirit of Karibon to always watch over the spirit world for them from now on, with her seeing the spirit of Karibo in the human world, much like Jaden would see his winged Karibo or like Chaz would see his Ojamas. Now, at the very end of the episode, we are teased with that person who may have sealed the Ancient Fairy Dragon away, as someone is ominously spinning around the synchro card for it as they laugh, but like, in an evil way. Not in a funny haha point at this guy type of way, like others would do to me for liking Yu-Gi-Oh when I was little. Now we have reintroduced the spirit world for duel monsters back into the show, and along with that, characters who can directly interact with it to degrees we don't truly know yet. So hey, that's pretty exciting. With the next round of matches getting announced, it seems that Yusei is going to be facing Greiger, who apparently has a brand new duel runner that is described as unbeatable. Leo wants to figure out a way to help, thinking that he could sneak around Greiger's garage in order to relay intel to Yusei about what he's got planned, unbeknownst to Yusei. As for Greiger, he asks Rex that once he's done with what he's asked to do, if he'll keep his word for what he promised him. Rex claims that he will, with the promise being food and supplies to help aid Greiger's people, since the village they are from had some tragic devastation happen from a natural disaster. In order for Rex to help though, he first wants Greiger to help bring out Yusei's Mark of the Dragon. Later on, Leo ends up sneaking into Greiger's garage, where he quickly gets caught with the alarms going off and ends up just falling asleep in there, I guess. After Yusei and Luna end up looking for Leo since he doesn't return home, they eventually are approached by Greiger, who is carrying him over his shoulder and telling Yusei that he found him in his garage like this, not really thinking it's a big deal and isn't mad at the kid, just wanting to feel like he's helping Yusei out in some way. I know I keep flip-flopping with Greiger, and heck, it may even happen again, who knows, but the whole reason he is doing anything for Rex is for the sake of his family and village, who are in need of aid, and for the downtime in between matches that we've seen him, he's had some chilled conversations with Yusei, coming off as a pretty nice guy, making me genuinely believe that the speech he gave at the start of the tournament was directly from him and he meant it. For now, he ends up helping Yusei get the twins back home and put to sleep for the night, and there is definitely a level of mutual respect going on here between them despite the duel against one another that lies ahead. The two of them both were offered deals that they couldn't refuse from Rex, with Greiger explaining that he was promised this chance to help rebuild his family's village, as he goes on to say that his people believed that their forefathers were servants of the people of the stars, tying his lineage somewhat into Rex's without directly knowing that. And along with that, their village holds a deeper hidden power, power, with Yusei bringing up if it has anything to do with the Crimson Dragon, as Greiger says it does, claiming that whoever controls the power of the Crimson Dragon has the power to control the destiny of the world. Yusei tries to explain that Rex is using him to get what he wants, but Greiger says that if there is any chance to help his village, he's going to take it. As for whatever happened to Blister, we see that he has snuck over to the satellite via a cargo ship, but when he arrives to where all of Yusei's friends were staying, the place looks completely ransacked, and there isn't anyone around. He calls Yusei to inform him of the news, and saying that there is no trace of his friends at all, saying it's like they just vanished, and if Rex got a hold of them, they could be anywhere by now, only fueling Yusei's desire to do what he can to make sure that they are okay in the end. The next day arrives and it's time for the duel, as both of them are having their own reasonings to be in it to win it like Corbin Blue and jump in. We see Greiger thinking about his family back home and them burning up in flames from their village being destroyed, but it seems he has some sort of new information. Perhaps he sat longer with what Yusei had to say between last night and this duel getting started. We then get the reveal of Greiger's duel runner as it's this massive beast of a machine, and clearly Greiger's not playing around. There's something more focused about his drive to duel Yusei now. Very quickly in the duel, Greiger gets out his powerful Flying Fortress Skyfire with 3,000 attack points, putting Yusei in a tough spot with how fierce Greiger is going to be putting the pressure on him throughout their duel. While that is all left at a to-be-continued moment for the episode, there were a bit of other themes at play here that get brought up through Greiger when speaking about his people. There's a moment where Greiger is talking about his family to Yusei, as he then looks up to the sky, saying he and his family used to look up and count the stars, and here it's only smog, which is thanks to all of the effects of industrialism and the low importance of keeping the air we breathe clean. Beyond that, he mentions that his people, being believed to once be the servants of the people of the stars, make it so that his people were always looked at as lower class people by the so-called chosen people, with them being the ones forced to do what they asked and most likely built the civilization they take credit for. There's quite a lot that does get brought up, mentioned, and explored throughout 5D's, and I appreciate the candor in its presentation of it thus far. There's this emotional weight felt on the characters when these things are talked about that makes the urgency of what they are going through or have experienced feel real. As the duel continues into the next episode, Greiger has made it so Yusei is in a bad position, not being able to summon cards without them getting instantly destroyed thanks to his powerful Flying Fortress Skyfire. To get out of this, Yusei ends up playing Wasteland Tornado, choosing to destroy his own face-down trap card Limiter Break in order to bring out Speed Warrior from his graveyard, having it in defense mode in order to shield himself from taking direct damage and losing the duel. This doesn't hold Greiger back for long, as the direct assault on Yusei's life points continue, bringing him down to only 300 left. But then Yusei pulls the card that Rally gave him early on, Turbo Booster, playing it as he then claims this to be for Rally and all of the rest of his pals, doing this in their honor, especially because we have no clue what has happened to them at this exact moment. By combining the effects of his two monsters, Yusei is able to take down Greiger's Flying Fortress Skyfire and taking no battle damage either. But also from this, Greiger is getting more intense, as we see a flashback to him getting access to Rex's private files, finding out directly that Rex was responsible for the destruction of his village in the first place, making him no longer focused on trying to bring out Yusei's dragon mark, but instead directly going after Rex. So he's going to need a good win in order to get him there. You see what I did there? Okay, for real though, he listened to what Yusei brought up about Rex, saying that he was always being played by him, and now he's having a change of plans. Yusei gets out his Junk Warrior, but Greiger is able to not only deflect the attack, but destroy Junk Warrior, as he then has a synchro summon of his own coming Yusei's way, as he gets out Dark Strike Fighter with 2600 attack points, and the two of them go back and forth with countering what each other is doing, as Greiger even calls out that Yusei seems to have an answer for everything. Yusei even gets out another synchro monster, this time it's Armory Arm with 1800 attack points, and okay, this one's kind of meh. Like it's just a metal claw. What are we doing? Even then, Yusei needs to rely on the heart of the cards as he ends up drawing the speed spell Synchro Return, bringing back his Junk Warrior after it was removed from play earlier, but then he uses Armory Arm's special ability to combine with Junk Warrior to boost its attack points by 1000, and okay, see, now that's fine, that makes sense, it fits like a glove. I take back what I said, it's not lame, I'm sorry I doubted you Armory Arm defenders in the comments. After Yusei defeats Greiger's Dark Strike Fighter, he then attacks directly and is able to defeat Greiger in general with an unbelievable comeback for the audience to witness, with this also guaranteeing him a spot in the final round. But before things move on from this point, something is off, as Greiger's mic is still active so everyone can hear him, as he tells Yusei he has something he still has to do, even if he has to do it differently than he planned. He firstly tries exposing Rex for all that he has done, pulling up visuals for his presentation here to show the crowd that he hacked into Rex's personal files before the duel to see the truth. Rex was never going to help his village, and in fact is instead the one behind its destruction. destruction. There's nothing left to save. Lazar is freaking out about this being possible for him to have this knowledge and show it to the world like this, but Rex allows this to continue, saying to let Greiger have his moment, mentioning no one's going to believe him. Rex used the village as a testing ground to bring out the Crimson Dragon, turning Greiger's village into a crater as Jack watches in shock. It wasn't a natural disaster, it was Rex the whole time. Greiger then gets on his runner, launching it straight towards the tower in the center of the arena where Rex is, closing his eyes as this would be his final act, getting revenge for what Rex did, as Yusei then tries to stop him, rushing in on his runner and launching himself to intercept Greiger before the impact, knocking his runner out of the way, but one of the spikes from his bike still goes flying at Rex, shattering the window in front of him, but without flinching, Rex catches it, stopping it from hitting him directly, revealing that he has some sort of metal hand that Jack takes notice of. Greiger is mad at Yusei as he doesn't know what he's supposed to do then if this isn't the way to go about it, as Yusei asks him to trust him to figure things out, leaving the moment here as he screams out Goodwin's name. Man, Rex once again needs to vet better minions here, because they are all either too bad at their job, too weak to live up to their reputation, or they just turn on him, which is fine because he deserves it, but still, like, come on, Rex, do your job better.
Next, Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds.
Signing back on.
Continuing from right where things left off, Rex ends up addressing the crowd and chalking up what Greiger was saying to nothing more than a nervous and emotional breakdown, as Yusei makes a promise to Greiger as he's taken away that he'll take Rex down. Speaking of Rex, he ends up letting Jack know about his arm after he sees what it really looks like now, explaining that he was in an accident years ago and then not really going deeper than that. Like, is he missing his arm and this is replacing it, or is his arm completely inside of a metal cast? I'm sure we'll find out more later on, but now we see Akisa speaking to the mysterious person watching as she's contemplating putting the mask we saw her wearing when she made her first appearance in the show back on. She's nervous to be in front of the crowd, but this guy is trying to push her confidence in not needing it, telling her that she's a psychic, not a sorceress, to quell the witch allegations and how that is affecting her. He also mentions that she is a part of whatever group he is a part of, which is something separate from Rex and his Iliaster group. He tells her that it is time for them to stop living in the shadows and show the world about who they really are. The next match is set between Akisa and the last of Rex's inside men, Commander Koda. As the duel gets started, he does bring up the fact that they have a past, recalling a time when they were back at Duel Academy together, which is cool to see that place get a mention. I wonder if in the time this series takes place, if it's still around or, you know, not. It's probably lost its funding due to all the crazy stuff that happened there over the handful of years we experienced in GX. You're not familiar with what happened? Well, here's 15 hours of yapping all about it. You're welcome, or I'm sorry. Pick whatever response from me suits you. Koda mentions that he was a third-year Obelisk Blue on the cusp of going pro until some first-year Slifer Red, aka Akisa over here, comes along and defeats him, as he claims her psychic powers nearly destroyed him and his deck entirely. And from there, he left dueling behind and went to study the criminal mind to understand and take down the most dangerous that new Domino City has to offer. We hear that Akisa is thinking she couldn't control her psychic powers back then because she was just a kid, which is completely fair and valid, but Koda here starts breaking out his lore book on who Akisa is, showing he's been doing some deep research on her background, bringing up how she first got her psychic powers when she was 5 years old, and how it was seemingly uncontrollable for her, as in this flashback with her at that age, she's flinging another person she's dueling up against a wall, and it's safe to assume that that is her father. There's also all this fire around them, but since this is the 4Kids dub of it, all the fire we keep seeing is just made purple for the most part. After this moment, she was sent away for help for being such a danger to herself and to others. So maybe the secret organization she is in is like a different form of like Hogwarts or something. I don't know. She claims that she wanted to learn how to control it all so that she could ultimately help people. Koda puts all this blame on her for how destructive and dangerous she is, claiming that he's going to send her to a special place that will cure her of her afflictions against her will. You know, if he wins, I guess. Akisa just wants a normal life, but unfortunately feels like she can't have one, saying that destruction has always followed her, and the more she ran from it, the more people got hurt. Her only choice became to keep dueling and hope that one day she could find someone to help her, and that's when she found this dude in the trench coat, Sayer, the head of the Arcadia movement, which is a group of duelists with powers like Akisa's, supposedly, offering to help her, giving her a part in a cause that seems to be for the greater good, and could mean that her powers would be helping people out. Koda really seems to want vengeance on Akisa for their past, rather than just taking her down in this duel for what he was hired to do, wanting to strip her of her powers for what he calls the greater good, even if there is this personal bias attached to it. Akisa, while setting up her next next play, calls Kota out for spending the last few years strictly profiling her, studying everything about her instead of just offering any true help. He's only thought of her and wants to treat her as if she's a monster. So in return, she'll respond with a monster of her own, synchro summoning Black Rose Dragon, and as she gets more heated in the duel, this metal rod holding up her hair falls out, and aside from giving her a new hairstyle, she also starts glowing with a red aura. She says that this is about more than just winning, it's about finding her place in this world, and she now knows where she belongs. She's done hiding behind a mask and is ready to show everyone watching her true powers. Oh, and saying that she'll win this duel, you can't forget that part. Once she tries using the same ability from her BRD that she used in her last match to bring her opponent's monster down to 0 attack points, doing so here in the efforts of avoiding the effects of Kota's spell card, Kota had planned for this. So thanks to having his light-low protection spell card equipped to his monster, it means that if any type of card from the opponent changes the monster's attack points, then it gets destroyed, defeating her Black Rose Dragon, as this then causes her mark of the dragon to appear on her arm for the first time, at least for everyone to witness, not for herself. She's known about this. And everyone else in the know takes notice of this, as we then see that energy is pumping through the generator beneath the arena, as we get this really menacing shot of Akisa that has this wall of fire behind her that is disintegrating away, with it, funny enough, not being censored and turned purple. She then plays her trap card, Rose Curse, as she tells him that he spent so much time studying her past that he never stopped to look at the person she has now become. She claims that this Rose Curse is a new card, one that he can't profile, and will now suffer from thanks to his own narrow-mindedness. She was ready to play into his strategy in order to play this card, as it activates if an opponent's monster's attack changes, inflicting the difference in attack points from what it previously was, and what it currently is, directly to their life points, costing him the game. With that, the plans are all set now. The final round will be Yusei versus Akisa, as Yusei claims that his match with her might be his most dangerous yet. Also, something to note as they are building this up, Luna starts feeling something in relation to Akisa's deck again throughout her duel here, much like she did earlier. And what does this all mean? I don't know. Maybe we'll find out. Probably in another season, though. Before their duel, both Akisa and Yusei run into each other in the hallways of the arena, with Yusei asking if she's alright while she holds her arm, aggressively saying that she's fine. He tries asking about the markings, wanting to know more about them in general and why she freaked out when seeing that he had one the other day, as she says the mark has only brought her pain and having more than one around could only make things more dangerous. Leo and Luna come up to both of them, with Leo calling her a witch as Yusei tells him not to call her that, so, he apologizes. But when Luna looks at her, she changes her facial demeanor, going from angry to a more worried and uncomfortable look, almost as if Luna can feel something coming from her beyond the harder exterior she puts up around others. Lazar then interrupts this, as he's trying to get Akisa to come meet with Rex, but Sayer shows up, saying that she wants nothing to do with him, and that himself and Lazar know more than they are letting on about each other's organizations, as Akisa is then escorted off for some rest with Sayer and these other dudes dressed in matching robes. Luna tells Yusei that she can feel that Akisa is upset, and that when she looked at Luna, her own arm began to hurt. Luna tells Yusei that she can feel that Akisa is upset, and that when she looks at Luna, her arm begins to hurt. We see Akisa rest in a special tub-like pod filled with metallic-looking liquid that Mario has to jump into to enter the Hazy Maze cave level in Super Mario 64, as her and Sayer talk about loyalty and how she claims this group to be the only family she knows. Sayer fills her in on Rex's Order of Iliaster group and the whole Crimson Dragon stuff. However, he is saying that if the dragon returns, it will bring the world to its knees, and claiming that's where his Arcadia movement comes in. He says that he who rules the sky has given the members of the Arcadia movement special powers. Who's the one who rules the sky? I don't know, so I'm just gonna pretend it's Sky Scout, aka Harpy's brother. Put a comment down below if you knew that fact. Sayer continues on by saying they are the Sky Ruler's chosen people, and will be the ones to stop Rex and lead the world down the right path. He tells her that he doesn't know if Yusei is a part of the Order of Iliaster, but whatever the case may be, her orders are to beat him, then get to the duel with Jack and beat him, then that will get the crowd cheering for her instead of hating on her, and through that, their movement's time will finally come. So now we have another full-on group established around this whole Crimson Dragon situation, where we see the framing of what we already learned kind of changed. Like, we know that Rex is not being fully open and truthful about what his real plans are, as we have seen with Jack learning about it in a way that the Crimson Dragon's powers can be the savior against the dark forces escaping from their prison. But now we have this added on perspective about the purpose purpose and power of the Crimson Dragon being what ends the world, which could lead that meaning the power of the dragon being in the wrong person's hands. But there's a lot going on, and Yusei still is as much in the dark as ever, and that's with now being in the middle of it all, both with his connection to it on a having the mark of the dragon level, and on a positioning level of being in the way of both of these organizations and what they want. So maybe the only right thing to do is for him to start his own organization. Who doesn't love a good cult? Akisa is just hoping that from doing all that she is, she can rid herself of these psychic powers as well as rid herself of the mark of the dragon she possesses. Yusei wants to find a way to actually help her, wanting to do what he can to help her get through this hatred and anger that she carries, as he ponders why she claims to not want to be helped in the first place, when it seemed like during her last match, she would have loved proper help instead of being treated like a monster her whole life. Yusei knows that everyone is out to use the people who have the marks, thinking that on both sides, whether it be Rex or whether it be the group Akisa is in, know way more than the people with these marks actually do themselves. He's thinking that instead, maybe they have to come together like a team. It may be the only way to understand what is truly going on and to stand against the bad actors out to take advantage of those with the marks. He doesn't want to have to resort to using his Stardust Dragon in the duel with her, but is willing to if it means really getting through to Akisa and understanding who she is. He knows that after dealing with Akisa, he'll need to figure out a way to get Jack on their side, as well as if that's even possible in the first place, but to be fair, it probably is. He's getting more and more weary of Rex's coyness, and is unraveling more and more secrets that just aren't adding up, especially later in a conversation Rex is having with Lazar about wanting to see the power come from Yusei and Jack clashing with their dragons again, as Jack thinks to himself about surprising Rex when he ends up using the power for himself. As the match is getting ready to start, we see Sayer talking to Akisa, letting her know that if she ever feels like her powers are starting to get out of control, that the metal rod in her hair that we saw fall out in her last duel is an energy stabilizer to limit her powers, which is why in her first duel there were no energy readings coming from her, but of course when it fell out in the last duel, her powers and energy were spiking. Sayer tells her that the fate of the world is in her hands and that they are all counting on her, and man, when will people learn that putting that type of pressure on someone 9 times out of 10 doesn't work in helping them do whatever it is they need to do? It usually instead makes them overthink, get nervous, and most likely fumble. But whatever, we can hear the crowd saying these awful things about her as she comes out, calling her a witch and wanting her to leave the arena, as Yanagi thinks it's cruel for what they are all saying about a kid, with Tanner responding that these people don't understand her special abilities, and when people don't understand something they see, they tend to be afraid of it. Continuing on to explain why they are all here watching her duel is all in the hopes of her losing, saying that when people are afraid of something, they don't like to be alone, so sometimes they'll band together, hoping to see that something feel bad, which in turn makes them feel good, which this can be applied to a lot these days in real life, both in the real world around us and on the online spaces that we occupy. In the crowd here, they don't really know who to root for, as they have their own prejudiced reasons to hate both of these duelists. But as the battle gets going, Akisa takes a strong lead as people in the audience are worried about the dangers of feeling the attacks, exiting the arena, or ducking in cover for their own safety whenever she does anything. Once Akisa is showing off this duel being about sending a message, with her seemingly enjoying causing Yusei real pain, as the remaining members of the audience continue to call her a witch, Yusei fights through all that pain, saying he wants to help her, he wants to be her friend, and that he'll use every card he has to prove that to her. He claims to have figured out what makes her tick, saying that she enjoys people's misery, all stemming from her experiences in life and all that she's gone through. So now, in the end, it makes her feel good to see others suffer. She says that's true and can't wait to fully enjoy the feelings she'll have from what's left for them in their duel. As the duel continues, Yusei tries to break her out of this destructive path, as she responds saying that until he's battled in her duel disc, save it. And I am totally stealing that, by the way. Never again will I say walk a mile in someone else's shoes, only battling in someone else's duel disc. Love that. Akisa gets her Black Rose Dragon out, triggering a spike of pain into Yusei's arm, as she does her strategy of removing a plant monster from play in order to drain the attack points of an opponent's monster to 0, with her going in to then try and destroy Junk Warrior, and Yusei's all like, no, not Junk Warrior, anyone but Junk Warrior, not my Junk Warrior, as if there were any other monsters on your side of the field there, buddy. Who else was she gonna attack? Like, why are you genuinely surprised she chose to hurt your Junk Warrior? Either way, he ends up removing Shield Warrior from play to use its effect of protecting Junk Warrior from being destroyed, and then playing Spirit Force in order to negate the attack damage coming his way. Her attacks, though, keep doing more damage to the surrounding area, with the audience chanting that she's a freak, with her internalizing it all, saying to go ahead and keep saying these things. She knows it makes them feel good, as she is going to show them what makes her feel good. Yusei knows she's getting closer to fully doing something far more more dangerous and that she'll regret, as he tries to figure out how he can get through to her and help her, thinking that maybe if he can find a way to show her that her power is a gift rather than a curse, then possibly she'll stop causing all this pain. In these efforts though, he does what he was hoping to save for Jack, and that's bringing out his Stardust Dragon. With two dragons now out in play and facing one another, she is only reminded of the mark and all the pain it's caused her, as Yusei claims that he is doing this to show that they aren't as different as she thinks they are. He's not her enemy, he wants to be her friend. She claims that because of these stupid marks, they will always just be outcasts, saying their fates are to be alone, as she thinks back to every moment in her life where her relationships with her family, classmates, and the majority of everyone she's ever come across have only ended in them getting hurt and her being the cause of it. She says that she can't have friends in general because of it. It's not a choice. It's easier for her to wear a mask because of how little one can care about other people when you can live behind a wall of plaster and paint. She goes on to say that even with the hope given that she should shed the mask and show the world who she truly is, referring to her time since she's met Sayer and been in that organization, that it's all useless, showing the crowd and what they are saying about her as an example of what trying to have the world understand her looks like. People scared, people saying awful things. It doesn't matter who she truly is if all they ever see is her in this light. Yusei tells her that he knows her. He knows the real person behind the mask. No, I'm not talking about you, Dream. You keep that mask on. Yusei says he's an outcast himself, someone from the streets of the satellite who has had nothing but discrimination and awfulness thrown onto him. She's not letting her wall down though, with Yusei thinking he is left with no choice and sends in his Stardust Dragon to attack, which then triggers the markings in everyone in the arena to start glowing and burning with pain. She then puts on her mask, saying that without it, it's too easy to be hurt, wanting to conceal her emotions and shield herself from the world. The audience continues to ridicule her, as we see that Sayer views Akisa differently than how she views him, as he claims to himself that Akisa is his, and there's nothing Yusei can do about that, as he clearly sees her as some sort of pawn in his plans, rather than a person who believes she found some sort of family for herself filled with people who understand her. They continue to go back and forth in the duel with their dragons using their special abilities, and as Akisa's attacks keep coming in, her own destructive power starts chipping away at her mask, with Yusei building up a combo in his head that can defeat her, as he feels it might just be the only way to actually get through to her. As her arm is burning in pain, Yusei says that the mark is a part of her, it's a part of all of them who have it, and that having this mark doesn't make her a witch, it makes her special. Other people don't see that, and he gets that that hurts, but by getting angry at them, she's really only hating on herself. He explains that they are sharing the same pain because of the mark, and it's trying to bring them together, to strengthen them. He doesn't know what it all means yet, but this pain is somehow uniting them. They need to figure out what it wants, but first Akisa must realize that she's not alone, and that there is this connection between all the signers. They are going to have to all band together for this to all make sense. He tells her to embrace her dragon. It's not a curse, it's beautiful, just like she is. Alright, you say, this is not the time to be flirting. Okay, yes, beautiful meant in the general sense, not meant in a direct attraction sense, but she responds claiming to not be beautiful. The mark has caused so much pain and suffering that she's lived through, but he tells her that she's right, but if she stays mad, she'll always suffer, as she asks if she's just supposed to accept it then, embrace it and forget the past. The rod in her hair starts glowing and falls out, as she claims that hate is all she knows, saying the discussion is over and continues the duel, and that she'll destroy all the cards on his side of the field now, and along with that, the rest of the stadium as well. Yusei then activates Stardust Dragon's special ability to sacrifice itself to stop the destruction, as we see the Stardust Dragon latch on to the Black Rose Dragon in a hug-like grip, as Yusei tells her to stop fighting. It's over. The dragon inside of her was never meant to destroy, as then both of the dragons disappear from the field. With each of them having limited options for what to do in the duel now, she claims he spent the whole time trying to save her, and she now wants to see if he can save himself, wondering if he can stop her, as he says he never wanted to stop her. He wanted to save her, as she seemingly is surprised by hearing that, but like, you just said he's been trying to do that the whole duel, and he said it, I don't know, like 37 times already, but whatever. Anyway, he then activates the trap card Cosmic Blast. So since Stardust Dragon left the field, she'll lose life points for all of its attack points, as he says that she would have seen this coming if she wasn't hiding behind that mask. This ends up defeating her in the duel, shattering the remaining part of her mask, as we then see her eyes filled with tears, claiming that he's right and the Black Rose is crying. Before Yusei can say anything more, Sayer walks up saying that he's done enough and that she's gonna come with him, as we see him offering niceties to her about her doing her best for now, as we hear the rest of the crowd cheering over her loss. The final shot before the episode concludes is a still frame showcasing Akisa coming out from behind her mask, as we hear her internally thanking Yusei, showing that for whatever happens next, something may just have truly gotten through to her her after all. There is a pretty deep exploration of the trauma Akisa has gone through in her life that felt very real over the last few episodes. She's a really interesting character tied into everything that's going on, especially with her psychic powers. So now there are two characters that seem to have these extra powers on top of also being a signer. You know, just in case you lost count.
He's right here.
What? Shut up. Moving on. Right after Yusei's duel, everyone's marks are still glowing as Luna's gets exposed to the others around her, as we see Yusei's mark then permanently imprint itself in a non-glowing state on his arm, much like how we saw Jack's originally just being on his arm. As for Jack, he mentions to Rex about this event now, having exposed who 4 of the 5 signers are, with Rex telling him to go and push Yusei to great limits in their match in order to expose who the 5th and final signer is, thanks to the power it will generate. As for Yusei though, well, he's on his way to now go talk to Rex of his own accord, rushing past all these guards and beating them up, which is all pretty epic. We love to see that. At the same time, Trudge is already inside and speaking with Rex as he's trying to get him to call off the tournament based on things feeling off and the potential of more people getting hurt, as Rex just berates him, disregarding anything he's saying. Yusei enters in at this moment as a surprise, as Rex then kicks Trudge out, making him leave by force while he claims he's going to figure out what he's really up to. But now Rex and Yusei can have a little conversation, as Yusei says he's not dueling Jack until he gets some answers about everything, as Jack interrupts, saying that it's about these marks that they have. Well, yeah, no duh. But he goes on to explain that Rex wants the Crimson Dragon's power, so he's been trying to gather everyone with its mark, and as he continues, you can feel the separation between his position with Rex and his own plans happening, saying that Rex got him to where he is by lying to him and manipulating him and just buttering him up. Rex chimes in saying that Jack wanted to be the Turbo Duel champion, so, you know. But Jack responds saying, yeah, but I wanted to earn it. He calls him out for potentially rigging everything, and that his ultimate plan involves setting him up as bait for Yusei, and that all of this from the jump was all set up and planned for this big clash between them to happen. We then go into a flashback to when Jack was in the satellite still, as we see him having his own turf area, where he doesn't really do much aside from sitting on his own throne alone, where after he ends up helping Rally deal with some thugs messing with him, we hear Rally talking about Yusei having built this duel runner, and that he's going to try and break some local special record with it. There is this big disinterest coming from Jack, as Rally wants to know why him and Yusei can't be friends again after whatever personal falling out that happened between them some months before this flashback takes place, with Rally saying Yusei won't even explain what happened between them, as Jack says nothing happened, people just change. And all Rally wants is to just see them being best friends again, and mentioning that best friends don't just stop being best friends before leaving Jack to be alone by himself once more. Later on in the night, Lazar ends up meeting with Jack on behalf of Rex, inviting him to come bring his talents to New Domino City, saying it's wasted by being out here. They want to offer him a chance to sit on a real throne as the king of turbo duels, with Lazar also bringing up the mark on his arm, saying that they know all about it and they will offer him one chance to come make it over to them by going through the pipeline during maintenance, but there is one thing that they need him to do first, and that is to deal with Usay, or rather get something from him, as at this point they don't know much about him other than that he has the Stardust Dragon and the potential to be the best, perhaps like no one ever was, and they need Jack to jack this card from him, as it will be a ticket to his new life on the other side of the pipeline, where they promise him a full clean slate, no connection to the satellite, and everything he could ever want and more. Jack then sets up a plan to trap Yusei into making a decision between facing him in a duel or saving one of his friends, with Jack tying up Rally, putting him in a small wooden boat out in the waters during a storm, and tipping off Yusei to come to the docks where he is so that he can confront Yusei in a confused state and tell him it was him who put Rally out there, showing us in a flashback within a flashback how all that happened, as Jack tells Yusei that he can either duel him right now and prove himself if he has what it takes to be the best, like these other people have been saying, or he can swim out and save Rally, asking what he's made of, which right away he jumps out to go and save Rally, not worried about whatever reputation he has about becoming the best duelist around. While he does this, Jack thinks he's pathetic and doesn't deserve to have Stardust Dragon, taking it from his deck, getting on the duel runner, and once it hits midnight, he makes his way through the pipeline and into a new life, leaving Yusei with no reason as to why he truly did any of this in the first place at that time. This is interesting, as when Jack first reflects on what he did to Yusei earlier on in the season, he notes that the Stardust Dragon was this consolation prize when it was the bike that he wanted initially, but it was never about him wanting this card from Yusei for himself. That's why it was just this bonus thing at the time, and you know, without the runner, he couldn't have made it through the pipeline in time. Back in the present moment, Jack claims that by being tricked into taking this card, it gave Yusei the reason to come after him. Jack then makes makes a demand to Rex, saying that he wants this duel to be about the duel itself, and that he needs to let Yusei's friends go free, as there should be no threats or no gimmicks, just Yusei and Jack having a duel. Rex agrees to this and lets them go, as it turns out that they were just locked in a random shipping container somewhere in the outskirts of the satellite, and on the outside now, they find a tablet broadcasting the live stream of the Fortune Cup for them all to conveniently watch from where they are. How nice. Jack is determined to show Yusei that he doesn't have what it takes to be the best, and dog, if you just listen for 1 second, he's not even trying to be like that. He's literally just trying to stop things from going crazy with this whole Crimson Dragon thing. Like, he's asking you if now is really the time to be doing all this based on these dangerous factors at play. Jack tells him that he needs to have some guts, teasing him that from this they could find the 5th signer, and isn't that what he may want if he wants to unite them all? So yeah, you know, it's time to rev it up, man. As the duel begins, you can see how well the two of them know each other, knowing the moves and strategies played on one another in their past duels, and what they are most likely going to do to counter each other throughout this one. Jack says that he's the champion for a reason, and he's going to show off why he will stay the champ, as he synchro summons his Red Dragon Archfiend right away. We see that Jack knows that he had to give up everything he had back in the satellite and do whatever he had to do in order to get to where he is now, to be this champion, as he views Yusei as someone coming to take that away from him, a threat to him, a person who will tear down everything he's built, thinking that Yusei isn't a real duelist as he's never had to sacrifice anything, always putting dueling second, with that stemming from putting the care that he has for his friends over dueling every time he has to choose between the two, and now Jack wants to truly put him in his place. How could any of this go wrong, huh?
Next, Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds.
Signing back on.
And now for the final episode of the season, we continue on in the duel as dark storm clouds start appearing above as a bit of a precursor to the Crimson Dragon. In response to how fast Jack got his dragon out, Usay quickly synchro summons his Stardust Dragon too, activating everyone's marks once more with both dragons out at the same time. As the generator is already bursting with energy, the duel continues to go back and forth quite a bit at a very fast pace, so much so that they left in the animation error of Jack drawing a card twice for his turn. But who knows, he could be cheating. But you know, when it comes to the sanctity of the duel itself, I don't feel that he would do that. Both dragons clash enough to the point where red lightning starts striking down in between them in the duel, with it then starting to turn into the Crimson Dragon fully, highlighting 4 of the 5 markings, but not the 5th yet. Everyone in the audience is all confused as to what's going on, not sure who summoned this 3rd dragon here. Zigzix is happy that they've now captured enough energy to power the city for 100 years, but Rex tells him to shut it off for some reason, which confuses him, but Rex claims that they need to do it so they can be careful. If they don't stop it now, there may be no city to even power in general. And as this power increases, the generator does start overloading, triggering a potential meltdown, which Zigzix notes as what led to what happened to Greiger's village. So yeah, you know, he has to try and shut it down now. In the meantime, for the duel, Jack wants to continue on, of course, with Yusei being worried about the Crimson Dragon ripping the place apart and everyone in it, as Jack just thinks Yusei's scared. Jack says that he's a signer, this is his destiny, and that Rex told him that he will use the power of the Crimson Dragon to help save the world, as we then cut to Rex, responding to this in his head, agreeing with what Jack said, but mentioning that it will not be him fighting the darkness that's coming alone, going off the legend that says once all 5 signers are gathered, the future can be revealed. With us then getting the reveal that this whole time, Rex was the 5th and final signer, as underneath his metal arm casing was his regular arm, and on it was his own mark of the dragon, as he now unleashes it from his specially made cover for it to now react along with the others. Or maybe they want you to believe Rex is this 5th signer, and something more nefarious is yet to come. Or something, I'm just spitballing here, I don't really know yet. This final push of power unleashed almost becomes blinding as we see the Crimson Dragon fully spread its body and wingspan above the stadium. All of a sudden, Jack and Yusei are now racing on some endless track in a space-like void, as neither of them know what's going on or where they are. Then both Akisa and Luna appear in this area as well, within these special bubbles, just as confused as the others as they oversee what's happening. Eventually, this all leads to them seeing the stairway statue, with the star shining bright in the sky and rows of people bowing down to it all. Jack points out that these are the people of the stars, as they then take note of 5 of them standing on top of the stairway that all have markings on them as well, with their hands held up in the air towards the sky. As they all continue on this rainbow road-like Mario Kart course, this journey takes them over the satellite where we see it being destroyed by these massive purple flames that end up tracing out the shape of a spider in the same type of design we saw with the Nazca lines and with how the darkness was originally sealed away in the past. Yusei can't believe what he's seeing, but Jack claims that this might be a vision of the future, as Yusei says that they need to stop it from happening then, and that they should stop this duel, but Jack says they will stop what's happening, just, you know, after the duel. He claims that the Crimson Dragon won't let either of them return from this place until one of them wins, and whoever does will show the Crimson Dragon that they deserve the power to save the world, and Jack, well, he's determined to be that person. With Yusei giving Jack what he wants and continuing the duel, he's not holding back anything, but when Jack gets hurt, he really feels the pain, thinking that the Crimson Dragon wants him and Yusei to play for keeps, feeling like one of them is making it out of here, and one of them possibly not, at least not in one piece. Yusei gets his own turn and feeling the pain from the attacks now, as Jack tells him that this duel is winner take all, and even when Yusei is attacking and hurting Jack, he cares about him, not wanting him to be in pain, as Jack keeps telling him to worry about himself. At this point, Jack has pushed his speed counter to nearly be at max, having 11 counters out of the possible 12 you can get up to, as he ends up playing the End of Storm spell once more, as Yusei has Meteor Stream ready to use just like last time as well. Jack was ready for this, knowing that's how he would have technically lost last time, so he then plays the card Crimson Fire, blocking the 1000 points of damage coming his way, and sends it right back at Yusei twice as strong. But of course, Yusei had a trap card of his own ready for this, Shining Silver Force, stopping the bounced back attack and destroying all of the spells and traps on Jack's field. Yusei then takes the lead with speed, having enough counters to then play the speed spell Final Attack, doubling his Stardust Dragon's attack points to 5000, saying that he doesn't want to hurt Jack, but if ending the duel is the only way to get back home, then he has to attack and finish things off. Yusei defeats Jack as they are instantly brought back into the arena, with Jack screaming in pain as his bike crashes and sends him flying, with Yusei safely Akira sliding to a stop. To the standard audience watching the match, Yanagi says that 1 minute they were dueling, then they disappeared, then they came back and now the duel's over. They didn't get to see the duel continuing in the void or learn of the possible visions of the future or any of that. But what is left are the results of the duel, as it shows Yusei being the victor and now the technical champion of turbo dueling. Yusei doesn't care about that though, as he runs over to Jack, who is still alive, hoping that he's okay, as Jack admits defeat. Yusei says that if that vision of the future is true, then this doesn't matter, and in the end they all might lose, saying that together they need to unite and stop this all from happening, or both cities or even the whole world might be destroyed. Jack says that Yusei always wanted to be a hero and that now's his chance, as Jack then passes out. Without another moment to spare, Rex quickly tells the announcer that this is all over and to announce Yusei as the victor, leaving this season with a terrifying vision of the future, a new champion in the world of turbo dueling announced, and something much bigger than all of them that they may just have to face head on. And wow, what a way to end the first season of Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds. As someone who will still always poke fun at the whole dueling while riding motorcycles thing, I must admit this was a very fun ride. Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds really took a lot of chances to tell a different story here, and no, I don't mean in the sense of the whole Crimson Dragon stuff and the world-ending prophecy. That's a main staple of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Franchise in general that's always gotta be there in some shape or form. Something's always gotta be threatening to end the world. I mean different here in a way that it approaches both the storytelling and how it approaches the characters. Like I was saying earlier, by forgoing giving our main characters a direct goal, an ending point, or at least a known main idea of where they are trying to or will end up, we get to have a way more interesting time peeling back the layers of who Yusei, and by extension, Jack are. For all things considered, we still really don't know a whole lot about Yusei aside from the type of person he is. He's had an extremely rough go at life, but he's never knocked down by it, always wanting the best for his friends, looking out for them and never making decisions fully based on his own desires. It's not until the last couple of episodes that we start to understand the larger picture of the relationship Yusei and Jack truly had, with us only getting these limited sprinkles of it throughout the season that lead up to the reveal of how Jack truly screwed over Yusei and the others. But even then, we still have so much more of this backstory that isn't explained, but has been lightly teased. Specifically, the real closeness of Yusei and Jack, as Rowley talks about them being best friends at one point before some sort of undiscussed falling out. Yu-Gi-Oh! As a franchise has always done well to set up layered reveals to have different forms of ongoing mysteries, but here we don't even at a base level get an overarching goal for the main character. In the original generation of Yu-Gi-Oh! Sure, there was all this mystery of figuring out who Yami Yugi truly is as we eventually uncover the secrets of his past, but from the jump, we know who Yugi is. While becoming the king of games really just kind of happened as the series progressed, each arc of it gave you a direct drive of where things were going. Like in Duelist Kingdom, we right away know that Pegasus takes the soul of Yugi's grandpa, and now Yugi is going to head to the island to make it through the tournament meant to eventually face Pegasus and save him. We learn this from the start of the series, right away. Yu-Gi-Oh! GX brings in Jaden, who has this path forward of an ambitious duelist who is determined to be the next king of games, but we see that the story becomes his journey of growth alongside his peers in school as he faces all these struggles that shift his purpose from a student going to school who doesn't know the first thing about having responsibilities like, attending class or not being late, to someone that takes the whole with great power comes great responsibility thing to new levels. The mystery that builds his connection to dual spirits and mainly Yubel is this larger intrigue at play that slowly builds up as it becomes a vessel for Jaden to understand who he is, being okay with uncertainty of where the rest of his life after school is going to take him, and how something tragic can change you, losing interest in the things that brought you joy in life growing up, and in general feeling like you're growing up too fast. And there's so much more to break down from each of those generations of Yu-Gi-Oh, but there's other video series that I have done on them already. Please feel free to go and check them out. What I'm trying to say is that in some shape or form, we've always gotten some sort of understanding of who our main character we follow is, and some form of clear path that we are privy to see them go down. For Yusei, and by extension Jack, they don't really have that. Instead, we meet both of them after things have already happened, and each of them are living their lives in two separate cities. Aside from Yusei originally just wanting to go and get his Stardust Dragon back from Jack and dueling him, which all happens in the first handful of episodes, we don't know what Yusei's path is. We get these little bits of information like him wanting to figure out a way for him and his friends to get out of the satellite and have a better quality of life, but Yusei has no personal goal in life that we are aware of that we hope to see him get to. Sure, he's great at dueling, but he's not actively trying to be the next king of games or be the turbo dueling champion. On the other side of things with Jack, he doesn't end up getting any sort of drive until he nearly loses to Yusei the first time that they duel in the season, where it's from that moment he solely has a focus on proving he can defeat Yusei in a duel. All that we know is that he just wants to duel him again. That's it, that's his goal. Both of them end up getting entangled in this Crimson Dragon plot and have crucial parts to play in it, but that's solely introduced and explained to us through Rex and other secondary characters. Yusei is more so than not left in the dark about what's going on, only being slightly more involved over his interest in just making sure his friends are okay, and not for the sake of all this signer stuff until the very end of the season. Jack believes he can have this greater destiny-based purpose to be the savior of the world, but even that is a secondary concern rather than some goal, as even in the face of all this danger, he's still mainly focused on beating Yusei in a duel. I honestly just feel like this is a refreshing start to a Yu-Gi-Oh! Generation. There is no effort made to sell me on why the main protagonist is the main protagonist. He's not propped up to be the next king of games. His goal is not to be the #1 turbo duelist in the world. Yusei is just a guy who has a hard life and wanted his card back for the chance to make things better for him and his friends. And from that ends up getting involved in things that other people are controlling that he has no real say in, where he's having to deal with the oppression from Trudge and Sector Security, or Rex in the whole end of the world plot, to even being thrown in prison and dealing with the warden and everything in there. The way we get to explore Yusei and Jack throughout the season is through these bits of information that either come out naturally through dialogue or through some sort of flashback, but sometimes it comes through these small comments that offer a new bit of detail to flesh things out that you could easily miss, because you're getting all this information in a non-linear fashion. You're not learning bit by bit by bit in order, you're learning bits and pieces from all over the different parts of the story of the past to put together the puzzle of what this bigger picture is. This also begins extending to the other characters as we meet them, like Leo, Luna, and Akisa. All of these characters have already had a pretty fleshed out past that we learn bits about that begin shaping their place or purpose in the story, but at least within the first season, it's only to a small extent with not any real direction for them that we could say we know for certain that they're going in, aside from them all being connected to the whole Crimson Dragon thing. Okay, well, Leo doesn't seem to be, but he does have some unexplained connection to Luna's powers, so by extension, he's involved. Akisa probably gets the most options laid out for her, and where we can see her character go. We know that she hates the powers that she has, and thanks to Yusei, could be on the path to learn to love and embrace them, but on top of that, her whole relationship to the organization she's in, and how she could be being manipulated by Sayer in similar ways that Jack has been by Rex. So maybe some more issues with that will come into play, and what that organization's true purpose is in general will be exposed. If all you've seen is the first season, then it's safe to say that you have no idea what's coming up. You don't know where things are going. Sure, we know there's this lingering Crimson Dragon, end of the world doomsday type of plot that's going on here, but we don't really know where that's going yet. We don't know any of the next steps for anyone's involvement in it, aside from Yusei maybe needing to get everyone to come together, and there is no clear ending goal point that we are heading towards. And for me, that is making the storytelling thus far far way more interesting than I thought it would be. It depends on how it's executed, but both ways of knowing where the story is heading but then filling in some of the gaps along the way, as well as not knowing where things are going as the story expands along the way, are fine ways of exploring a story and the characters within it. I appreciate the approach that 5D's is taking in pushing back the viewer from knowing every little detail. To me, it's making for quite a fun time. But speaking of other stuff I liked, I've already mentioned the way that some exposition and most of the card mechanic explanations have found a cooler way to be incorporated in without the characters themselves having to directly repeat themselves or go into long-winded breakdowns of what their cards do, which makes the pacing feel a lot better. But there are other quality of life details, if you will, that are just awesome. Like seeing when monsters are in defense mode, they end up getting shaded in this lighter blue color to represent that, giving you the visual aid of just knowing who is in attack mode and who is in defense mode without characters having to mention it, or again, just, visually speaking, following along with the duels as easy as possible. There is still this level of cheesiness to the series, mainly in the dialogue, that flows all the same like the generations before, but I must say that, while not being as dark as the final Japanese-only season of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, 5D's feels like a slightly more mature series. We still get some ridiculous action and so many puns pertaining to the motorcycles and the duels on them, and man, I just love that the previously on segment at the start of most episodes is Yusei going, "Now let's get up to speed with Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds." All of that is just so much fun, but when I say this series is more mature, I mean that in the overall tone from how the characters are presented to the themes that get brought up. The majority of characters aren't goofballs, and heck, they rarely smile for that matter, as we get some side characters that add the more comedic relief, but in comparison to what came before, even that feels extremely toned down. It makes sense because the world that we are in now for the series isn't a happy one. There's a lot of deeper issues and topics that are touched upon and explored that give us a way bleaker look at society, how people live, how people are treated, classism, segregation, neglect, slavery, trauma, the prison system, industrialism, and so much more. The show doesn't get caught up in just mentioning things and then turning the camera to the turbo duels to focus on how cool they are or whatever. They take time to show you the themes they are bringing up, quietly exploring it through the visuals, or showing you how it affects people directly, or even through the people causing things to be the way they are in the first place. Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds is easy to write off as just a series about duel monsters being played while racing motorcycles on the most base surface level of just looking at the posters for it. But under the surface, it feels like a new way to explore the world of Yu-Gi-Oh! With a whole lot more to say. You get your ridiculous forms of dueling, you get your exciting monster battles, you get all the themes of friendship, and you get a cast of interesting characters. But you also just may be surprised at how much more than that you do end up getting. And we've only just explored the tip of the iceberg, or I don't know, tip of the handlebar. Sure, why not? Let's go with that. In the next part of this look into Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, we are going to be exploring what the second season of the show has to offer. We have nearly every question left up in the air to hopefully get some answers for. Real important ones like what happened to Alex? Did he get out of prison too? I thought he was supposed to get out of prison too. Where is he? Either way, I look forward to exploring it all with you soon. What are your thoughts on the first season of Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, or just this whole third generation of Yu-Gi-Oh! In general? Are you mad that I called Goodwin by his first name throughout the whole video? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Make sure to check out my bonus video where I take a look at the Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds duel terminal. It'll come out in the next couple days for channel members, so consider becoming one to support the channel and get exclusive bonus videos like that. Thank you again to those who are already channel members. Your support means the world to me. Also, make sure to check out and follow me on Spotify for audio-only versions of these videos for when you're on the go or on a long drive. Thank you all so much for watching. Before you go, make sure to leave a like on this video and to subscribe for more videos like this coming soon, but until then, I've been Jordan Fringe. See you later. Whew, you know, now that we've reached the end of Season 1, there's only one thing left to do. Oh, that wasn't my gum, that was a dust bunny!